Thomas Tuchel's busy trying to bring glory back to England for the first time since '66. But how did he get here? Well, from the sleepy town of Krumbach via some giants of European football, here's his journey to Wembley. Sitting around 60 miles west of Munich, Krumbach's population is less than 14,000 people. But Tuchel's friends there remember a boy whose ambitions lay far beyond the Bavarian community. His will to win was evident early. Tuchel often captained his youth football teams, and his school side lifted the national German football trophy in 1987. The sport took the young defender on a whistle-stop tour of South Germany, from Augsburg to Stuttgart and then Ulm. A knee injury ended his playing career at the age of 25, though. Tuchel accepted his first coaching role in the Stuttgart youth setup in 2000, hired by none other than Ralf Rangnick. Under Tuchel's stewardship, the club's under-19s won their league title in 2005. But Stuttgart chose not to renew his contract, feeling Tuchel had an abrasive personality. He went on to manage Augsburg's second team before spending 5 years at the helm at Mainz. He then followed in Jurgen Klopp's footsteps and moved from Mainz to Dortmund. Here, Tuchel secured his first major silverware, the German Cup, in 2017. 8 more major trophies came next for Tuchel in just 5 glorious seasons. He won 2 Ligue 1 titles and a pair of domestic cups as PSG boss. At Chelsea, he famously lifted the Champions League as well as a Super Cup and a Club World Cup, and he also bagged a Bundesliga at Bayern Munich. And then, 4 months after leaving Bayern, Tuchel was unveiled as England's new manager.
I always wanted to come back to England. That was my big goal. I have the best memories of the country, of the league and of the players, the attitude towards the game, the attitudes from the supporters.
Well, here's hoping Tuchel can finally drag England over the line at a major tournament.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live on talkSPORT. So, as Ousmane Dembele claims the Ballon d'Or, how much does it resonate? Is it an outdated format or the ultimate measure of greatness? Meantime, did Monchi at Villa fail to live up to his reputation, or was PSR his downfall? Also today, how far should football embrace fan media? As an owner, can you stop your loved ones fighting your battles? Is tennis manufacturing Sinner versus Alcaraz finals? Sitting in the home end on European away days, is it loyalty or is it lunacy? And how can boxing create a longer-lasting tribute to Ricky Hatton? It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement.
Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
What people don't see
is what this bleeding chair
is your entrance to the studio, which, to say the least, is spectacular. So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. As I launch into what's coming up for you, if you're listening in talkSPORT, then you've got a rough idea of where we're going with it. He's away again. And if you're watching, as many of you are these days, on TV, Samsung, LG, Fire TV, Apple TV, Chromecast, Android, Google TV, even Prime Video, you will see Simon as if he's taking part in a Brian Ricks farce. It's like doors opening, doors shutting. He's in, he's out,
plank.
he's sitting there, he's not sitting there.
It's the plank. Are we allowed to use dwarf?
Yeah, well, you just
Vertically challenged person.
I think a vertically challenged person was
producer
sitting there.
vertically
Maybe
challenged.
Spencer Oliver
Intellectually
passed by
challenged
when
as
we
well, yeah.
didn't see him. Simon, good morning and welcome. This is your last day aged what?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea.
All right.
I have no idea.
Are we not to mention that it's your birthday tomorrow?
Very good. Yes.
Okay, let's not go too deep into that. Let's do that tomorrow.
Fantastic. Can't wait.
Simon, a lot to get through this morning. Ousmane Dembele came out on top. As Nick Elway said in his bulletin, he was somewhat tearful when he won the award last night. He won the Ballon d'Or in Paris. What do you make of it? I don't know how much you saw of it or heard of it.
None.
I watched a bit of it on YouTube last night. Is it an outdated popularity contest, or is it the ultimate measure of greatness? I don't know what I don't know what players think of it. I don't know what we think of it. What do you think?
Well, I think it's like anything. It becomes something different over the years because it's been sort of amped up and created. When I was 12, I used to like these sort of things. Now I'm a bit older, I'm not that interested in it. I mean, I remember growing up listening and feeling such emotion for Kevin Keegan being European Footballer of the Year.
Exactly.
Which is what the Ballon d'Or has been, previously
Right.
that was Alan Stevenson, wasn't it? Or in the middle of it.
Yes.
And I remember thinking that was such a wonderful thing to do. And, obviously the PFA used to have their sports or the PFA awards before I decided to dislike them intensely because of actual experience of them. They used to have their awards, and as a kid, you'd know that the PFA Player of the Year was this, that and the other. I think like most things, it's a supersized me sort of scenario, isn't it? It's been turned into something far more about entertainment and show business and self-congratulation on the industry of itself. But for the players, I mean, I remember talking to Michael Owen about it and saying to him, how the bleeding hell did you win a Ballon d'Or scoring 21 goals in a season when these guys are scoring 40, 50 now?
Yeah.
And of course, Michael was off telling us how wonderful he was at the time. But the fact is that in a team sport, I suppose individual recognition and the way that it's been heightened, I suspect, by the Messi and Ronaldo years.
Yeah.
When we go back to when Johan Cruyff was a player of such significance and would have won these awards. Ruud Gullit won it, didn't he, at certain times? And it didn't, because of broadcasting, because of what's happened in sport and entertainment around sport, and the fact that sport is such all-consuming now, it's not surprising that an award like this has become show business. It's become the Oscars of
Absolutely.
football.
Yeah, it has been. Are we not missing a category? Should there not be an owners category? I'm serious about this. When you think of it, you lot never get awarded, and you've actually won me over because your influence is considerable, your investment is considerable. I can see you up against Florentino Perez.
No, of course not. Of course not. Because,
John W.
because he continues to be successful in that particular field, and I had my moment, and people will judge me.
I'm serious about that. Do you think owners should be recognised on a night like that last night?
The big question is what defines a good owner? And the reasons why I've alighted upon that, because I'm writing it in this book, name drop. But I'm writing what is the definition of a good owner, because there's so many different definitions of a good owner. Somebody that understands the fabric of the football club and lends himself into it. Someone that has a big checkbook and won't stop at anything. Someone that's prepared to fight battles left, right and centre like Marinakis, but you might not like some of the palatability of some of the things he says.
Yeah.
What is the definition of a good owner? Because it'll be different to everybody. Every football club, I know that the broad strokes will be someone that gets out of the way and writes checks. That is the broadest terms.
What do you? Nobody better to ask than you. Today, in today's football market, what constitutes not only a good owner, the perfect owner?
There isn't one. Look at. I mean, look at how many times John Henry has caught the receiving end of Liverpool fans' ira for making a mistake about ticket prices, deciding to go on the furlough scheme during the COVID situation, whatever else he may have done during a period of time. Look at Sheikh Mansour now. Man City fans coming out and saying, we're not having that for ticket prices. We're not having that for concessions. We're not having that. So all of a sudden, I just think it's an unwinnable opportunity. I don't think it should be a category. I think it should be for the participants, the protagonists that kick the ball and manage those that do. And it's easier to define it.
Is there one owner in world football you look at and you think, yeah, he's as near as damn it?
Well, no, because it's a moving feast. I think you can't argue with the skill and intricacies of what Liverpool have done, with John Henry and FSG have done with Liverpool. Other people might look at that slightly differently. If you look at longevity and you look at honesty and integrity, I wouldn't look far past Steve Gibson. But Middlesbrough languishing in the Championship, so there'd be an argument about whether that team should be there.
Tony Bloom is an excellent owner. Matthew Benham is an excellent owner. I think, despite my personal differences with Parish, I think what he's done for Palace has been significant. Okay, he's profited out of it massively himself, but the football club has benefited from his expertise and the people that he's brought in. So you just knocked up a short list.
Yeah, but that's my measurement.
Yeah.
So then you go to someone else's measurement and you ask a group of fans. Ask the Palace fans that are bitching and whining about some of the stuff Parish does, right? And I would say to them, you know, whatever you may or may not think about some of the shortcomings, look at the journey. Look at me. Look at Ron Nodes. Look at all the rest that went previous, and go, whether I like it or I don't. This period of time that Palace have got is an unprecedented time. They won an FA Cup. They're in Europe. They've been in the Premier League for 13 years.
Yeah.
You don't know you're born Palace fans, but there'll be a section of Palace fans that will say, not having you, Parish.
No,
so
sure.
That's the measurement criteria.
So PSG would have been delighted last night because Ousmane Dembele won it. 35 goals, 14 assists in all competitions. Of course, he helped his club to secure 4 trophies. Unprecedented in French football, including the Champions League final. Do you remember that night? That night when they absolutely blew away Inter Milan in the final. Do you think that success has brought respectability now to PSG, whereas before you once described them as a Fabergé egg club?
Yeah, they were.
I mean, are they no longer a manufactured club, Simon?
Well, I described them as a Fabergé egg because they looked wonderful on the outside. They lacked heart in the middle, which means that they couldn't win the big tournaments. Now, with due respect to Nasser and the team that he's paid for up there, they've gone through a journey of Galacticos, all style over substance. They've gone, let's go back around again. Let's revisit all the lessons of the last 15, 16, 17 years and turn it into a football club that doesn't need these Neymars and these Mbappes that, whilst they're brilliant players, are more problems than they're worth.
Yeah.
They're not about a unit. They're not about a team. Let's go and get Enrique and let's go and get someone that builds a team based upon discipline, substance and style. You don't step into line, you step out, whoever you may be. And so with that in mind, you can say, did they not have respectability? Yeah, if you want to suggest, with all due respect to the people incumbent, that a football club being bought by a Qatari businessman to achieve certain outcomes for his part of the world lacked respectability or gains respectability, then I suppose you can make that argument. I just think they're a brilliant football team right now. About time. They've dominated their league for a long time. They had one season where Lille stepped in, our old mate, my old player, Jose Fonte, playing in part of the team that won the Liga.
Yeah.
But I don't think they were unrespectable. I just don't think they were as significant as some of the other European sides.
Sure.
They're only a 50-year-old club anyway, aren't they?
If not one of the biggest, if not the biggest, didn't show up against last night. Once again, Real Madrid players and manager absent in a continued boycott of the Ballon d'Or, despite Vinicius Jr., Bellingham and Kylian Mbappe all being nominated again for the main men's prize. They weren't having it. And when they don't win, they don't show. It's funny, isn't it? Elsewhere, England goalkeeper Hannah Hampton was named inaugural winner of the Women's Lev Yashin Trophy for the best goalkeeper. And Serena Vigman was named Coach of the Year after guiding England to back-to-back European titles. So much for the Ballon d'Or. We have a lot to get through here. And Karim, you're listening this morning. Good morning. I told you I'd mention you. Met you yesterday in the street quite near London Bridge. Massive fan of the show. Lovely chat, and I know you like the man beside me, and that's fine by me. It is Tuesday, September the 23rd, and we are live on talkSPORT, courtesy of Selco. It's where the trade goes. Good morning, everybody. Tuesday morning, Jim White and Simon Jordan live on talkSPORT. Already, thanks for all the texts and the tweets and the messages. Many of you getting in touch with the show right now from the word go, and that's fine by me. Last week, there was a bit of pushback online regarding a conversation we had on air about whether or not fan media representatives should be in press conferences, as they are in Glasgow, Rangers and Celtic, as I understand it, putting questions to managers. We're going to get to that maybe at 5:30, maybe a bit further on. We shall see, but we shall get to it. In the meantime, Simon, we want to get to this because we discussed Aston Villa yesterday. And Aston Villa, at the moment, having a bit of a hiccup or two, are they not? The word lazy constantly in the vocabulary of one Unai Emery following the weekend's performance from Villa and the players. And now another story emerging out of Aston Villa this morning, Simon. Monchi, Aston Villa's president of football operations, Monchi, a real name Ramon Rodriguez Verdejo, set to leave the football club. He joined Villa in 2023 from Sevilla at the request of Unai Emery. Mm-hmm. And it came after a spell with Roma and then 2 stints with Sevilla in La Liga. Since joining Villa, Monchi has been in charge of player recruitment. He spoke to us actually last season, and this fella, his reputation goes before him. Very highly regarded. In at Villa, but not for much longer. This was Monchi.
Work in Aston Villa is easy. We don't need to have a meeting every day because every day we have a meeting.
Yes.
Because we are close tonight, close the owner. And for me and for Dami, it's easy to work because I know perfectly that when I want, we go in this way every day to have the best squad possible. We continue to work until the last day because we need, we want to increase the level, but it's not easy to increase the level because the squad is top.
So that was Monchi, Simon. Some of his bigger money signings include Moussa Diaby, around £43 million, who left after one season, while a record £50 million were spent on Amadou Onana. 9 of the starting 11 that featured against Sunderland at the weekend were already Villa players before Monchi's arrival. What do you think? Has time overtaken him? I mean, 3 years in, have things unravelled for this fella, do you think? In terms of Villa's ambitions to break the elite, did they think, which doesn't seem to be happening, so maybe Sawiris and Edens, the owners of Villa, have thought, no, let's have a change here.
Well, maybe. I mean, I think a lot of these guys gain reputations that they don't always earn, and then they get hyped and built up, and they get found out in different circumstances. Once upon a time, the director of football at Leicester was considered to be the best director of football because of all the recruitment that got Danny Drinkwater, that got Riyad Mahrez and a whole bunch of tip players that ended up winning the Premier League. He went somewhere else, I think to Everton, and didn't actually do particularly well. I mean, you can't argue. First of all, the restrictions upon Aston Villa, like all of these football clubs, chasing the elite pack that are already there, is there for everyone to see. They cannot go toe-to-toe with them economically because they don't have the bandwidth. They do in their owners' pockets, but they don't have the bandwidth under the governance of the game. So you can't suggest that the decline in Aston Villa for 5 games is directly relatable to Monchi and his recruitment, because I think on the whole, Villa have done really rather well in the last 2 or 3 years, specifically under Unai Emery and the change of direction post Steven Gerrard, when Steven Gerrard got found out as an elite manager. And you saw that ultimately, Emery comes in, brings his own guy in because he wants the communication chain between him and the owners to be coordinated through a director of football that he relates to. And I don't think it's a fair comparison to say that because there's a few transfers that have gone in there, every club buys players that don't work out. And when you're buying £40 million players, there is an element of Hobson's choice, because a £40 million football in this day and age, as much as it's outrageous, is not a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
And there is an element of hit and miss about it. What they got him out for, I don't know. Whether they got him out for the same money they got him in at, so it doesn't actually have a problem economically. He's clearly a decent director of football. I've seen them all the time. The best one I think I ever came across was Frank Arneson. Frank has gone from club to club, whether it was Spurs to Chelsea and on to other football clubs across all of the football clubs in Europe, and added value to them. It's much overrated in some respects, this role. I still think the most important relationships are managers and owners, and finding some way to have a communication chain that works. If you're a remote owner like, say, Sheikh Mansour, then you're going to build a framework in there that perhaps has different people in it. But managers in this day and age know what they want. And if you're at a football club that can buy players at a certain level, then it's not a case of uncovering gems. It's a case of having coherence behind what you're doing. I mean, are Villa building a style of play that replicates itself down to their academy? Is there a style of play that Villa have that the director of football has been involved in that's over and above just transfers? Is the director of football's role in this situation about who he buys and who he sells? Because it's part of it, it's not all of it.
I think he's been trapped by Villa's present financial situation.
Well, they are then.
I mean, Morgan Rogers, Yuri Tielemans, Pau Torres were all recruits during his time.
Good players as well.
But yeah, good players. But because of the PSR struggles, Villa have only managed to bring in Jadon Sancho and Harvey Elliott on loan, Lindelof in a free on deadline day.
Well, there's your answer. I mean, there's your answer to the current condition of an inability to refresh and kick on. You couldn't make this case last year. I mean, they missed opportunities, Villa. You would have expected, with all due respect to my previous team, that Villa might have put a better fist forward in an FA Cup semi-final, and they might have been the FA Cup winners rather than Crystal Palace.
Yeah,
but that's irrelevant.
Right.
That's if my aunt was my uncle. The fact is that Villa have been on a decent level of success. Nothing in life is linear, and it's even less so now with the governance of football. It was okay for Manchester City and Chelsea just to go better, because they could keep on investing until someone came along and said the government says you can't do that anymore. Villa can't do that.
Right.
So they've now got to balance their books. So it's unfair to judge him on his buying and selling records. It'll be interesting to see what Emery thinks if the question's asked of him, why your designated director of football has suddenly departed.
Before we go to Richard, who's a Villa fan, he's going to join us for a second or two. How else can you judge the guy?
Well,
that's his job.
Well, then
recruitment.
So you're going to judge him by the last 5 games, or you're going to judge him by the quarterfinals of the Champions League last year?
I reckon you're going to judge him by who lines up for Villa and who he was instrumental in bringing in.
Yeah, but first and foremost, a team is made up of, at the very least, 16 players. So at the very least, if we're going to stand around and say that 9 players have been there since since he took over the club or the role, well, good luck, fantastic. You've got some good players that have got some longevity. You could go back to the Chelsea side and say, well, hang on a second. Each manager that came in inherited a group of players from a previous manager. John Terry was a mainstay. Ashley Cole was a mainstay. The goalkeeper was a mainstay. You can make this argument wherever you want. But there also is probably a whole raft of other players that he's bought that have added to the squad, because there are 16 players on match day that are going to be utilised, not 9.
No, true. Richard, as I mentioned, is a Villa fan who's joined us, wants to throw his weight into this. Richard, good morning. What's your take on Monchi going, as we're led to believe he will?
Hi, Simon. I love the show. My say on Monchi going, it doesn't bother me in the fact he's going, he's departing. What bothers me is how much Emery's got to do with this decision. Emery is the best coach I've seen at Villa in our lifetime. You talk about the 9 players he inherited, he's improved every one of them players. I don't think Monchi has given him... his recruitment is doubtful. I know you say about Rodgers, but he's bought a lot of players, some old, some young. We've gone from the youngest squad to one of the oldest in the Premier League. We don't really have a direction in where we're going in the transfer policy. I mean, we signed Lindelof and then Elliott and then Sancho. The 3 different profiles of players. What we're trying to achieve, are we building for the future? Where we're going, that's number one. I do think, like I say, I'm not worried about Monchi going. I think he's done some good stuff. I think he's done a lot of debatable transfers, and that's where I stand. I just hope Emery is fully behind this decision, because we cannot let him go. He's instrumental to our football club.
Understood. Richard, thanks for that. So he's not too bothered about Monchi going. It's no matter what, hold on to Unai Emery, and that is going to happen anyway.
That's how people would think, because obviously the conventional wisdom says that the 2 most important people in a football club is that you either want to get rid of or you are happy with is the owner and the manager. There is a much bigger dynamic now. Managers used to be the guys that signed players. Managers used to be the guys that did everything. Now they've been pushed back into their space, which is you manage the team. So it's a much more complex machine. We've seen a lot of credit go to Michael Edwards at Liverpool. And people say that, and in part, the reasons why Liverpool's success was what it was that Klopp was the manager that he was, and the recruitment was what it was. So they all have a part to play, and they're all part of a much bigger will. The days of a football manager, you see that they've got defensive coaches, offensive coaches, they've got throw-in coaches, they've got marginal gains opportunities, they've got, sports psychologists, they've got directors of football, they've got everything, because it is a much more complex environment to work in. Because when you've got to buy a house, you take a long time to buy it, and you make sure it's structurally sound. When you buy footballers at 40, 50 million quid, which is more than most people would own 15 houses in their lifetimes, you would think that logic would be part of the thinking, and a broader perspective of how football clubs are run is much more than just a manager and an owner, is my point.
So, Aston Villa, it seems to be adios to Ramon Rodriguez Verdejo. Monchi to you and me. 10:30, we're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
Ousmane Dembele burst into tears as he picked up 2025's Ballon d'Or. Julien Lorenz told us PSG treble winner had one of the best seasons ever for a French footballer.
The goals 37, the assists 15, but everything else that he did on the pitch, between the pressing and counter-pressing, the leadership, an incredible transformation really for a player that many has written off really in the past, and that it's a great story of resilience and perseverance, I think.
Arne Slot says the ref was right to add only 3 minutes of stoppage time in the Merseyside derby. David Moyes called the decision strange, with Jack Grealish accusing Liverpool of trying to slow the game down. Slot claims time wasting is not what Liverpool do. As we wait for an EFL decision on the Blackburn-Ipswich game abandoned at 1-0 with 10 minutes left, Ray Houghton's told talkSPORT about Fulham missing out on promotion from the second division on the last day of the 82-83 season. Fulham's game against Derby was never finished after a pitch invasion.
Malcolm McDonald went to the FA to plead our case, and it fell on deaf ears. Wow. And Fulham never really recovered from that. So you've got to be careful what you're doing as well.
And what are Team USA doing with their Ryder Cup money?
For everyone, it's a personal decision. You know, a lot of guys aren't comfortable sharing what they're going to do with their money, but we're going to donate. And, you know, this happens after the Ryder Cup. So this is something that we'll worry about after.
Team USA captain Keegan Bradley's donating his fee to charity as the Americans are paid for the first time. There's loads more content on the talkSPORT Golf YouTube channel.
Good morning, everybody. Tuesday morning, we're live on talkSPORT, live on your TV as well. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan with you all the way through until 1 o'clock. In this ever-changing media landscape, should there be a line on how far football embraces fan media? Last week, there was some pushback online regarding a conversation that we had on air about whether or not fan media representatives should be in press conferences putting questions directly to managers. It's a practice that's been utilised particularly in Scotland and the likes of Rangers and Celtic. Last week, Rangers lost to Hearts, and under pressure manager Russell Martin was caught in an exchange with representatives of fan media.
But do you agree with how badly the performance are, the levels? We don't look coached, Russell. It doesn't look good on the pitch. That's as bad as I've seen Rangers in all the time I've been watching them in that first 45. They are scared on the ball. There's no shape, there's no formation.
That's not tactics, mate. You've just said it yourself. They're scared. They're scared.
There's nothing there for them to grip onto.
If we were producing the tactics all the time that we work on in training, that's what I just said to you. We see a very different team in training to then the game. So,
but there's been no evidence of that at all in the league so far. There's 5 games, no wins. There's nothing there for you to back that up.
To back what up?
What you're saying about training and how they look, that's not materialising into the domestic form so far at all.
Yeah. The outcome, you only see the outcome of the end of the week. I've not been happy with the performance. I've not sat here and said to you I'm really happy with the performance. I don't lie to you. I don't come out here and lie. I've not been happy with the level of performance. But also, it's my job to work out why, is not big tactical problems. The problems are the emotion, managing anxiety, are psychological. So we have to try and work that out, and we have to maybe simplify it even more.
Russell, the fans have made it quite clear that they would like you to resign and to go. It's overwhelming now from the support. No wins in 5, worst league start in many a year. The fans want you to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think many of them wanted me here in the first place, so...
Will you resign?
No.
Now, the likes of the Four Lads Had a Dream podcast and the Heart and Hand podcast have both gone on from fan channels up there to the press huddle at Rangers, including that one that we've just heard with Russell Martin. Joining us now is David Edgar from the Heart and Hand podcast. David, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Jim.
David, thanks for joining us. So, let's get into it. How has it come that you've gone from blogging and podcasting to putting questions directly to Rangers managers?
Well, we started the podcast about 15 years ago. It got very popular, and eventually 8 years ago we went into being a daily subscription podcast, and we've grown. And the club approached us in 2019 to invite us into the press room. Rangers have always been, I would say, the forefront of the changing media landscape. And their view was that this is where supporters go now for their content. And therefore, that's a channel that they need to open up to be more communicative with the fans. So from there, I started going in, and I've been, I would say now, I have been at the press conferences for 6 years. And the thing about that particular press conference, Jim, was that was a very emotional and a very charged press conference. They're not normally like that.
Yeah.
I've been to, as I say, literally hundreds. I've sat in the room with Rangers managers, Jurgen Klopp, Carlo Ancelotti, Jose Mourinho, and on this station and in other press areas, they've used questions we've asked before. So that wasn't typical. So this is the first that it is coming up. Because that was Stevie from Four Lads that the listeners heard there at the podcast. And it was a very emotional podcast, that very emotional press conference that day. But generally speaking, you don't notice us because I think that we are not doing anything that is extraordinarily different from what happens in a press conference.
And David, you mentioned the word emotional there. How objective does that allow you to be?
You have to try very hard to keep your calm. But remember, Jim, we're not objective. And the thing is that we admit to an agenda. I think all media has an agenda of some sort, but the difference with fan media is that we will say, look, we are Rangers supporters and we want Rangers to win. and you know that going in. I think we can be objective, though, because it's not us trying to be... We don't indulge in hagiography. We don't sit there and say, everything is great, everything is wonderful at this club. But nor do we do... I don't like the term fan media because I think it now is considered... I would prefer club-specific media. The reason for that is that I think people think of fan media as things like someone having a performative rant into a camera, shouting and bawling and filming it and putting it out. And that's not what we do. We try to be objective about Rangers. If they play badly, we will say that they played badly. If they play well, that we will say that they played very well indeed. At the end of the season, we want to see Rangers be successful, but we don't do the thing of, as I say, shouting at a camera and exploding, because that's not for your supporters then. What you're saying is to opposition fans, come laugh at our pain, come laugh at how bad we are.
Right.
And that's slightly different. And as you know, in Glasgow, Jim, if we were to annoy Rangers fans, we couldn't go to Ibrox and go to sit. And I'm a match-going fan. If I'm not in the press room, I'll be in the home end.
Yeah, I mean, you're relying, I suppose, in that instance, David, on Russell Martin full cooperation with you, in spite of the fact that he was experiencing a pretty tough moment when the fella says, we don't look coached. And you're relying on Russell Martin to either agree or disagree. And of course, he disagreed.
Yeah, and I understand that. I think we don't look coached is just another way of saying that we look disorganised. I think it is just a terminology thing. And Rangers did look disorganised that day and dysfunctional. Lost 2-0 to Hearts. It could have been several more. So I think that the other thing is that if someone from fan media is saying it, that's what the supporters are saying. And it gives the manager a chance to address that directly, as opposed to maybe putting it in this sort of modern coaching language.
David,
that they use.
You said moments ago, all media has an agenda. Would you expand on that? You think that's the case?
Well, I think so. I think TV stations will have a political output. Newspapers will certainly have one side that they lean to or another. And I think that even in a press room in Scotland, there are no neutrals. There's no neutral journalists in there. People either love the Old Firm or they hate them. There's no in between. Everyone in that room is a fan of a club in Scotland. So everyone has their own biases that they bring to it. Sometimes conscious, sometimes unconscious. Yeah. In our case, we are open about it, that we are very specifically supporters of this football club. We cover this football club. That doesn't stop us, for example, saying that Hearts game, Hearts played very well, that Derek McInnes is a good coach. We're not that one-eyed. And also remember, on my website, I've got about 100 different contributors. There'll be 100 different views. We're not looking for a uniform view.
Okay, David, as you know, Simon's with me, as he is every morning. Where do you stand on this? You're not a great fan of the media, full stop.
No. I mean,
fan media or whatever kind of media.
I mean, I take a lot of what this fella's saying, and I agree with a lot of what he's saying, because I don't think there's any issue. I don't fundamentally have an issue. I don't think they have an entitlement to be in the room any more than any other section of media has entitlement to be in the room.
Yes.
And as a person that when I operate in the media, I don't have an agenda. You know, I will say what I think about anybody, irrespective of what personal relationship I have with them, what previous history I have with them. My issue.
You don't have an agenda.
No, of course I don't. Right. I have a view.
Never?
No, not at all.
Right.
If I had an agenda, I'd be serving up parish every single day of the week for the situations that I go back towards. I have experiences. I have experiences of people that are first-hand experiences that I'll talk about. But going to these guys being in a room, if I were a chairman of a football club, the challenge for me is, and this person's brought it up quite eloquently, is that there is a section of the fan media base that does produce an element of hysteria, that does produce a lack of objectivity, that is created primarily to create outrage and confected outrage. And I've seen it happen, whether it's Arsenal Fan TV, whether it's Mark Goldbridge, that's their stock in trade. Now, you mustn't judge every subsequent fan-based, or as he wants to call it, club-based media outlet by the same standards. And there is a part of me that wants football managers. They get paid a lot of money. They get a lot of opportunity in life. There is a part of me that wants them to work very hard in press conferences. There's another part of me that thinks that pushing the envelope sometimes in press conferences because you're serving out an agenda, which is a commercial one, is a commercial agenda here. It's a subscription-based model.
Yeah.
The fact that the manager's not doing very well at this moment in time will aid and abet people wanting to hear a manager being put to the sword. Is the balance right? in this day and age where and I've said to you previously, this idea that you can mock YouTube and digital space is dwarfing linear broadcasting, swallowing it, eating it. It's the future. It's new media meets old media. The irony of it is new media still likes the credibility of old media. So I'm relaxed about it. I think football managers have got to change their game. If I was an owner and I had fan media coming into a press conference, I'd be delighted, because the square root of the things that they don't know would be able to resink the Titanic. And I'd take great delight in making sure that they understood the reality of what was really going on rather than what they thought was going on. So I wouldn't be challenged by it.
On that point, David, would you be confident in front of, say, the 49ers, who are now in at Rangers, and putting the kind of questions that fans would want to hear the answers to? Would you be confident sitting in front of the likes of Simon Jordan if he was the owner of Rangers, per se?
Well, yes, because if I ask something and I'm totally wrong and silly, they'll tell me and I'll learn. And then I'll go out into, the shows that we do, and I will say to people, I know we all think this, but it turns out we're wrong, and here's what the club are saying about it. So for me, it's just about exchanging information. and to Simon's point there about when things are going badly, if that's good for us commercially, it's really not, because what happens is people disengage. People don't want to hear it anymore. We need Rangers to be successful.
But that's an interesting perspective, because that flies in the face of what you've suggested media does. We know in this country and in these islands, the wonderful thing that sells is terrible news. When it's good news, nobody wants to hear it. When it's bad news, we live in a world of media, whether it's the printed media or it's the broadcast media like this or television, that spends its time catastrophizing things, and then it gets its engagement levels. So I'm surprised to hear you say that when things are going well, that it's not as opportunistic as perhaps when things are going badly, because that seems to fly in the face of every other part of media.
Yeah, the reason for that, Simon, is that we're not targeting people out with Rangers, people who don't like Rangers. Therefore, the supporters of Rangers don't want to wallow in bad news. They don't want to spend extra time, if you like. If they've had to deal with a match on Saturday where Rangers have been terrible and getting beaten, they don't then want to spend 3-4 hours on the Monday.
I get that, David, but the line of questioning last week fell right into your lap, did it not? Because Rangers did not perform well. Hence, the individual who was asking the questions came in with, "We don't look coached." So that absolutely fell into your lap. David, stay with us. We'll take a brief break and we'll come back to you. Thanks for joining us. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan this Tuesday morning, and we are live on talkSPORT. We are talking about something we touched on last week. There was some pushback online regarding a conversation we had on air about whether or not fan media representatives should be in and about press conferences putting questions to managers, as is the case at Rangers and as I understand it at Celtic. Last week Rangers lost to Hearts, and under pressure manager Russell Martin was caught in a bit of an exchange with representatives of fan media. I'm delighted that Heart and Hand podcast host David Edgar in Glasgow has joined Simon and myself live. And David, I have to say, thanks for staying with us. A lot of good feedback on this. I'm looking at one or two on my Twitter feed. Kenny Sturgeon, David, excellent with Jim and Simon on talkSPORT. And the questioning at that time was right. I have to say, Rangers hadn't looked coached very far from it, in all honesty. So the line of questioning being praised by that individual. I have to say, when we discussed this last week, David, it wasn't all one-way traffic as well. William Ingalls, I have to agree with Jim White, sometimes fan media, I feel maybe shouldn't be in and around managers' press conferences. I'm not sure what they add to it. You'll probably get that all the time, David, a bit of conflicting views as to your presence in there. There is another one. I agree with Jim. Fan media serves no purpose to most Rangers fans. What feedback do you get from the fans, David, no matter what the temperature is like regarding where Rangers are at any particular moment on the field?
Oh, I get told what I need to say in press conferences. You know, Glaswegians, Jim, they're not very slow at coming forward with what they think you should be doing. But all the viewpoints are valid, and equally there is a place for the traditional media. Of course there is. What we are doing is adding another option. And we wouldn't exist if people were 100% happy with what was being served in the traditional media. That's why the space exists for us to go in and do what we do. In terms of in a press conference, what you're trying to get to, generally speaking, believe it or not, we'll try and stick to football. We will try and not ask questions about off-field things or whatnot. We'll try and, because I think a lot of football fans enjoy why did you play that player ahead of this player? Why are you playing? Can you explain to us why we're playing this highlight?
And David, what do you find your audience wants more? Do they want objectivity, or do they want you to, how can I phrase it, be more true to your agenda? Are they wanting you to be totally objective, or are they comfortable that they know you have an agenda and you're going to stick to it no matter what?
No, I think that they understand that everything I say is honest, because if I lie, I'll get caught out. I'm not clever enough to remember it. So everything I say is honest, but they know that means I'm a Rangers fan. I want Rangers to win. But if I say something along the lines of the team isn't playing well, it's because the team isn't playing well. I tend to reflect what supporters are thinking, because I am one. It's not... I don't need to try. My view will generally be the one that most supporters have. But you will always have disagreements in a big support. Rangers are a massive support. Yeah. And some people will think you're doing something right. Some people will think you aren't. But there are options, therefore.
David, let's bring in Simon. Do you make a distinction, Simon, between the likes of David and others in fan media to the more traditional journalists?
No. No, I don't, because with all due respect to present company, I have an issue with a lot of the journalistic quality in this country. I have a lot of an issue with some of the entitlement of the perspective. So I don't think, the fan is any less qualified than a Henry Winter or anyone else. They might be writers and do it for a living, but I think they're perfectly capable of using their own two eyes. The only issue I have, and in any terms of fan-led media or club media, is when it becomes extreme. And by that I mean there are certain fan bases, Rangers being one of them, that are issuing ultimatums to their football club. They're issuing them in the most aggressive fashions, whether it be you will get rid of the chief executive, you will get rid of the manager, or else. Or whether it's the Tottenham fans issuing, once upon a time, to Daniel Levy, a 20-point manifesto of what you will and won't do. There, I think you're moving from being in a room to interrogate certain aspects of what your football club is doing. You're moving from being journalistic to entitled, and you're moving from being entitled to militant. And that's where I feel that the line can't be crossed. But I have no problem with these guys being in a room and making people work hard to give answers that people want to hear.
And David, you maybe don't go as far as the likes of the Union Bears, the so-called ultras at Rangers, who demanded the departure of Patrick Stewart, the chief executive, and demanded the sacking of Russell Martin. In your area of fan media, you wouldn't push that far, or would you?
That's a different thing. They're fan activists, if you like. They are, pushing. They're a pressure group, and that's a different thing. Every club will have a fans group that does that.
But they do. Those people, with due respect to your particular structure, do pervade some of the thinking of some of the fan media. Maybe not yours, and maybe not what you do. And the big thing about the involvement of fan media is you're the high end of the wedge, and no one would have an issue with someone of your intellect, your standing, your ability to be able to question being in a room. It's the other end of the equation where you've got hysteria, post-match hysteria, emotional reactions that are not seeded. When I was an owner of a football club, David, if we won a football match, I would walk through the players' lounge kissing every single baby. If we lost a football match, I'll be the devil incarnate. And it's about finding the balance in objectivity in a moment to be constructive in the evaluation of what's happening in a press room. That's the only area that I worry about.
No, you're spot on. Constructive is a very word for it, Simon. And I think that the clubs are good at sorting in terms of the people who do just want to come in and film themselves shouting and bawling and putting that up for likes. And the club, Rangers in particular, are very good at that sort of thing.
And David, talking about shouting and bawling, though, what's the distinction here, Simon, between the likes of what David's doing with his Heart and Hand podcast and the likes of Arsenal Fan TV? And Robbie Lyle, who you hammered in this very studio.
That's where my reference point was, and this is where I was sort of debating with David for a second about the increasing numbers, because we know, as a matter of fact, that their subscriber growth went when all they could do was badmouth Arsene Wenger or Unai Emery, and that was their stock in trade. They argued against it. So that's probably not the ideal reference point, but it's a major fan outlet that were in my periphery, in my vision, and that's what I observed upon. Everything morphs, everything evolves, media's changing.
Yeah.
This guy coming on the show now, why would anyone have a problem with him being in a press room? Why I wouldn't have. If I was an owner of a football club and my manager was in a press room, I wouldn't have a problem with this kind of broadcasting.
You're right,
why would I?
David, you're in there and it seems you're there to stay, so let's finish on it. We'll turn the tables on you and we'll put the point to fan media with the distinction on Rangers. Do you think Russell Martin will last the pace there?
Personally, no, I don't. I think there comes a point where the relationship is too toxic between the supporters and the manager. And unfortunately, we've seen it before Rangers. And you get into a stage where the manager can win 5 or 6 matches in a row and they lose the 7th. And then the fans go, see, I told you. And I think that's where the supporters are. Obviously, while he's still there, there's still a chance that he can turn that around. And I sincerely hope he does, by the way. I'd love to be proved wrong. And if he does, you will hear me in a press conference before the end of the season saying, Russell, I'm sorry, I was totally wrong. But at the moment, it seems like a long shot. But for my own health of supporting Rangers, I sincerely hope he does start on Thursday night.
David, thank you very much indeed for joining us. And David, just before you go, you'll enjoy this. A friend of mine, Scott Cunningham, is a member of the Blind Rangers Supporters Association, and he wants to thank you for your podcast and the invaluable service that you provide, Scott. So thank you for joining us, David, up in Glasgow. When we come back, do you really need any members of your family to fight your own battle? We're going to get into that next. We're coming up to 11 o'clock.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range, helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 3 minutes past 11, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. We understand Arsenal's Noni Madueke will be out for up to 2 months with a knee injury. The winger has not damaged his ACL, but Madueke will miss the next England camp. Meanwhile, Johan Wissa is expected to be fit again after the international break. Eddie Howe admits Newcastle do need to find a cutting edge after losing Isak. Tomorrow, Newcastle host Bradford in the Carabao Cup. Their keeper Sam Walker told talkSPORT exciting things are happening at Bradford.
We've had 20,000 plus every home game. Obviously, the Huddersfield game was a local derby, first one in a few years, so that was up towards 25,000. Yep. And we travelled brilliantly as well. I think there'll be 5,000 fans there tomorrow night.
Tonight we've got Lincoln versus Chelsea live on talkSPORT. Liverpool versus Southampton's live over on talkSPORT 2. Now, Ray Houghton's warning the EFL to be careful with their decision around whether to replay the Blackburn versus Ipswich game. It was abandoned at 1-0 with 10 minutes left because of a waterlogged pitch. Houghton played in Fulham's final second division game in the 82-83 season, which finished early because of a pitch invasion.
Still about 2 minutes plus added on time. We win that game, we would have got promoted to the top division. It never happened. And we never got a replay from it. And I've got to tell you, we were really unhappy.
And we understand Monchi is set to leave his role as president of football operations at Aston Villa. It's another blow to the manager after a poor start. Transfer deal-maker Monchi was a key ally of Emery. Aston Villa versus Bologna in the Europa League is live on talkSPORT this Thursday night.
talkSPORT News.
The NHS is reassuring pregnant women taking paracetamol will not harm their unborn baby. And Jaguar Land Rover's extended the shutdown of its factories after a cyber attack last month. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With our wide range of services on offer, including tyres, MOTs, servicing and brakes, you can drive away happy every time.
Fine for most of us with sunny spells and patchy cloud. Eastern England is windy with scattered showers moving in this afternoon.
Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday morning, Tuesday, September the 23rd. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We are live in talkSPORT, coming to you live, of course, on your TV as well. So many people telling me you watch the show as well as listen to it, and that is fine by me. Thanks to David Edgar from Heart and Hand Podcast, the host of that podcast up in Glasgow, of course. David, a staunch Rangers fan. And we were talking about the fact that fan media gets access to the likes of Russell Martin's news conference at Rangers, the likes of Brendan Rodgers' news conference at Celtic. Is it right that they get access like that? Simon, you say you've no problem about that whatsoever. What is your true attitude towards fan media?
It's the same as I said on air a moment ago. Look, it depends if I like my manager or not. Depends if I want him to be given a touch of reality by going into a press room and be asked questions by the fans that are going to be highly charged and motivated, as they said in the previous press conference. My attitude is slightly different. My attitude is I would see it as an opportunity, I have to say, because fans have a view, and that view is predicated upon a level of understanding and often that level of understanding is quite some far removed from the reality of circumstances. So I'd see it as an opportunity. If I was a football manager rather than an owner, because owners don't do that many press conferences, I'd be delighted to have these people come in so I can correct their thinking and send them out as my new disciples.
But I mean, Russell Martin was up against it last week.
I think Russell did
because
all right.
of the position they were in.
I think Russell did okay. I mean, what you want from a fans-led media is that they make sure that they spread the praise as quickly and as thickly as they spread the criticism. Because I don't believe in the idea that bad news doesn't sell. I don't believe that a fan base, irrespective of whether it's broadcasting to your own fan base, isn't engaged when it's got something to be outraged by. Of course, people are engaged by success, and of course, they want to see success, but they're equally engaged when they're seeing things that they really don't like, and they become very much collective in their thinking. Honestly, I don't have a problem with them being in a room, and I don't care whether you like it or not. I don't think they're any less qualified than someone that's been to university and told how to write a newspaper article.
No, of course, fair enough. Simon is a Rangers fan calling us from Glasgow. Simon, in the passing, what do you think of fan media and the discussion we had?
I think this came up last week, and first of all, I love the show, right, Jim? I'm not having a dig at you. I would actually like Simon to be on the board at Rangers somewhere along the line, but that's for another debate. But I genuinely think, Jim, see, when it comes to journalism and regards in the football, I think you specifically, you get your hackles up really quite quickly about this. You jump, you kind of defend it to the hilt, and that's your industry, and I totally get that. You feel sometimes it feels as if, see, if you didn't go to university, have a degree, you have no right to be in that room. Now, see, back in the day when you first started, maybe that was the case, but nowadays, obviously with social media and whatever, your questions or the fans' questions, and I get the kind of like the radical fans and whatever, but most level-headed fans can come across and ask a decent question, and being a journalist doesn't make your question any better than a fan's. But you seem to think, Jim, that how dare you be in our room when this is where we should be, whereas, as you know full and well, be it Keith Jackson, Bill Leckie, whoever, Stephen McGowan, they've all got friends, whether they're Walter Smith's best pal, God rest his soul, Alan McCoy, Brendan Rodgers, whoever it may be, they've all got friends.
Of course.
That they are friendly with, out with football. So,
I don't deny that they've any right to be in there. And, we move with the times, and I totally accept that, Simon. But I felt, in this instance, Russell Martin had his back against the wall, and it sounded like a fan asking the questions, didn't it? And of course, as we heard there from David, the phraseology was very much a fan's phraseology. Russell, we don't look coached.
Yeah.
It became one man's gripe to the Rangers manager. David admitted it was emotional.
That's where you're wrong, Jim. And excuse me for saying that, but...
No, you're quite entitled to, Simon.
See what the fan says. That's a question that me and my friends down the pub or wherever having a coffee will ask each other. But that's not a question a journalist would ask out of fear. The journalists, they have a fear element where they ask a certain question to a certain level, whereas a fan will ask the question that everyone else wants to ask, but you're not. But journalists
I've never experienced the fear aspect in any exchange, Simon. I must admit. A fear of what?
Then a lot of journalists ask the nicey questions that you same kind of nonsense questions you get after a football game where they're just pretty much agreeing with what the manager says.
What do you think they fear, Simon?
Sorry?
What do you think they fear?
I think they fear the backlog that managers will say, right, he's send die to the club. I think they fear for the backlash where you're not getting an interview in 3 weeks' time or 4 weeks' time. There's a fear element there that they're not getting their nose back in the door. That's what the fear element is, where the fan says exactly what everybody else is thinking. But a journalist, and again, I'm not being just direct this at you, Jim, but you're in that industry,
of
and
course.
You do like to sit in the fence to a certain degree.
I don't.
Where you don't want,
but maybe there are some who do, Simon. In my experience, I mean, I use my journalistic ability to get the views of owners, like Simon was an owner in the past, and I tend to go the direct route. Hence, this show has had exclusives with West Ham owner David Sullivan, with the then Everton owner Farhad Mashiri, with the co-owner of Chelsea, Todd Bowley.
But Jim, in fairness to you, you don't pull away from that, but you know damn well that the moment it got hot in the kitchen, and there's some observations on this show from Farhad Moshiri, what got shut down?
Oh, yeah. You go as far as you can, Simon. You go as far as you can. I never have a fear element. Simon's right. You push it as far as you can push, Simon, to get the kind of answers from the people who matter.
Yeah, Jim, I get that. And obviously you're rhyming off names that us fans couldn't get anywhere near close. So that's your privilege, being a journalist. So the chance of me sitting with these chaps you just mentioned are no chance, because that's obviously your industry and where you're allowed to. But on the basis of managers where we can get in touch with them, we ask the proper questions. So to compare us talking to Russell Martin to you talking to whoever owners you mentioned there, it's like apples and oranges, because we're never going to get near these guys. Whereas we can get near the actual the people that are involved in the football element, but not the kind of chairmen who you're going to rhyme off there. That's for me actually being kind of like
Simon. It's a good call though, Simon, and thanks for joining us live in the show. It certainly provokes a decent chatter, a decent conversation, doesn't it?
It's a learning curve for traditional media, for this space, because there is this attitude, and we've changed our attitude over the years, but there is an attitude which is basically that the digital space, the YouTubers, they're just YouTubers. They're just fan TV guys. And they're not. This new media frontier, the numbers, I keep saying it, the numbers that they're getting, we talk about in the boxing world, Jake Paul with Mike Tyson fighting in front of 125 million viewers because of his digital background. Whereas the guys on 2 weeks ago, Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford fighting in front of 40. There is a reason for this. And traditional media doesn't like it. And I don't think we fall into that trap too much. But there is a mainstream media attitude which is a bit sniffy, a bit arrogant, a bit clever about what it thinks and wants to pigeonhole digital media. It has a space and it has a huge opportunity, and there has to be a balancing act. And I think these fan-led broadcasters, as long as they conduct themselves in a way which is befitting of the environment that they're in, ask bold questions. Come on, Jim, we know that some of the points these guys are making, what that caller just made a point was, there are journalists that walk in that room and have the balls to push Marshall Martin as far as that. I remember Nigel Pearson being in a press conference and a journalist pushed it too far and he lost his stack and started talking about ostrich in the sand and banned the journalists. We saw Ferguson do it back in the past. The fascinating thing would be what some of these characters, like Ferguson, if they were managing today, Mourinho, what they would do if they got these guys in their face. That would be fascinating to see. Because you can't ignore it. Whether you like these people, Andrew Tate, whether you like these people, Jordan Peterson, that have come out, they are massive influencers. We've just seen one tragically, assassinated in America. They have huge sway, huge influence. And there is an element of it that, for me as a former owner, would like to see my manager have to ask and be asked and answer some bloody difficult questions, because you can believe a lot of the time, if the fans are thinking it, then the owners are thinking it too.
Sure thing. We spoke going into the 11 o'clock break about, do you need members of your family speaking up on your behalf? We'll get into that next. Jim and Simon live in talkSPORT. range of sport for you this morning. We seem to be talking non-stop about football, and there's nothing wrong about that. But every now and again, another sport comes to mind. Oh, and incidentally, we will be talking a lot about golf because the Ryder Cup on its way. We cannot wait for that. In the world of tennis, we don't hear from him often. But when Roger Federer speaks, by and large, we pretty much listen. But I've never heard Roger Federer like this, Simon. He's called on tennis to embrace more variety in court speeds after claiming that tournament organisers are deliberately creating slower conditions to increase the chances of Carlos Alcaraz and Yannick Sinner meeting in the final. We're going to get the thoughts of tennis broadcaster Marcus Buckland on that in a second. Federer said precisely this: I understand the safety net that tournament directors see in making the surface slower. For the weaker player, he has to hit extra amazing shots to beat Sinner, whereas if it's quick, he can maybe blast a few at the right time he gets past. That's why tournament directors are like, oh, I kind of like having Sinner and Alcaraz in the finals. That works for the game. Marcus Buckland joins us, Simon. We'll get your take on that in a second. What do you make of Federer's comments, Marcus?
I think he's speaking the absolute truth, Jim. I mean, the fact of the matter is that these days, every surface is almost exactly the same. I mean, back in the day, you can recall not that long ago, for example, American players wouldn't go to Paris to play on the clay. They didn't fancy it. Spaniards wouldn't go to Wimbledon to play on the grass. They didn't fancy it. These days, every surface is almost exactly the same. They are slow, and he's quite right, because tournament directors want to make sure you get decent length matches and that come the end of the week, you get the two best players in the final. And of course, that is what is happening week after week. The fact of the matter is that Sinner and Alcaraz have won the last 8 slams between them, and they contested 3 of the 4 slam finals this year. So I understand why they're doing it, but it's slightly ironic that he is saying that, and yet he's also admitting some degree of responsibility, because at the Laver Cup at the weekend, he also elected to go for a slow surface. So it's all very well saying it, but who's going to be brave enough to make some changes?
Yeah, so, I mean, Federer said it, and he's brave enough, as you rightly say, Marcus. He's basically saying tennis authorities are manufacturing tournaments to produce Sinner Alcaraz finals. You say this isn't true, Sam, or do you?
Well, I'm going to bow to
Hang on, Marcus.
I'm going to bow to a greater knowledge, but I don't understand the difference between the eras, because we saw an era where Federer, Djokovic and Nadal dominated every single final. The tournament directors would have wanted those 3 guys in every single final. Now we're seeing it in the similar era now with Alcaraz and Sinner. What is the commercial difference between what was being deployed then? And I'm trying to understand what they're doing. I mean, obviously the bounces on courts like grass are going to be different than they are on clay and hard court. How are they achieving an outcome of surface that's uniform in terms of the suggestion that Roger's making, and you're concurring with, Marcus, that allows it to be at that sort of speed, whether it's grass or clay or hard court?
Well, without going into the scientific details, which I'm actually not that good on either, they've been able to slow down the grass. The speed of the balls has been tampered with, and that is why now, effectively, you can play the same style of game on every surface. Let me make one other point, though, and Simon, you're right that the best players invariably get through to the finals, and I strongly believe that if they made some of the surfaces quicker, we would still be getting Alcaraz Sinner finals, because these 2 guys are better than everybody else. But what we need is a little bit more variety. And Federer also goes on to mention that back in the day, you'd had the attacker against the retriever. It's just a more interesting dynamic, and that's what he wants to see. Let's watch Sinner and Alcaraz play on some fast courts. Let's see if anybody else is good enough to maybe only have to hit a couple of good shots in the rally to win the point and maybe change the outcome. I don't think they would, but what I do strongly feel is that the game needs a little more variety, as was the case back in the day.
So, I mean, you would say Federer's spot on with this, Marcus. You watch tennis all the time in a variety of different locations. Federer's even suggesting, Marcus, that returning a service no longer as challenging as it once was. Where's he going with that?
Well, he's absolutely right. He's been talking to Riley Opelka out at the Laver Cup, who's got one of, if not the biggest serves in the game. And indoors, in particular, with a serve like that, you would expect it to be a real weapon. And yet he mentioned that Casper Ruud, for example, was able to return the ball hip height without really moving and fizz a backhand or whatever it was, a forehand winner across court, which shouldn't be as easy as it's proving to be. So I do think he's got a good point. I remember a few years back, the Paris indoors event, end of the season, they put on a really quick surface, and it was brilliant to watch. There were some surprising results. And again, maybe the tournament director come the end of the week didn't want the final that he got. I seem to recall that actually Michael Lodger, a Frenchman, got to the final, which was good news. But you need to be a little braver. Let's speed up some of the surfaces, keep the others slower, and see if we get any subtle changes in terms of the results and the way all the players have to play.
What is the broadcaster and subsequently the consumer reaction to tennis now, in terms of the fact that we're seeing what we're alluding to, which is a uniformity of speed on courts? Is there a blowback reaction from, because we're hearing the intelligence inside the industry observing upon what is going on with the sport and what he thinks, given the fact he was an elite player and the challenges that it now has? But is that manifesting itself in the mind of the consumer? Is it manifesting itself in the mind of the broadcaster?
Well, I think Simon, tennis has got an issue because we've had such a golden era on the men's side in particular. I mean, I know some will disagree, but I don't think it ever gets better than Federer, Nadal, Djokovic and Andy Murray at their very best. So, of course, you are now looking, if you're a conductor of the sport, as it were, to see what is coming next. And obviously, Alcaraz and Sinner are head and shoulders above everybody else. I think Sky got an audience of around 600,000 for the US Open final a couple of weeks ago. I think if it had been anybody else, it would have been a lot lower than that. And it's really up to the other players to develop and to present a coherent challenge to the likes of Alcaraz and Sinner. The sport needs rivalries. They've got a terrific rivalry, but you want a little bit of strength in depth. And I think the men's game in particular does need that to ensure continued interest over the next 5 or 10 years.
Because of these slower courts, Marcus, that Federer's alluding to, is the sport any less or any more exciting today than it was Nadal, Federer time?
I think that's a really interesting point, Jim, because if you look back at the French Open final a few months ago, it went on for, 5 hours and something minutes. It was magnificent. Now, if you're a real lover of the sport, you want more of that. But there's also the double-edged challenge that tennis is trying to speed things up and to be relevant to a younger audience. So you're kind of caught in two minds. But the quality of these two is outstanding. And I think the point Federer is simply making is that let's see how good they are on quicker surfaces as well. OK, the matches will be a bit quicker, but they won't be lacking in any quality because of that. And maybe, just maybe, one or two of the other players on the periphery will be able to mount a more concerted challenge. And therefore you get a better game all round.
See, Marcus, I would look back at the McEnroe, Ball, Connors, Vitas Gerolaitis era as being equally as compelling as, say, the Nadal, Djokovic and Federer era. But has it gone the other way now from what we had in the 90s, when Pete Sampras or Michael Stick were booming down serves and the games were very short and it was all serve, one volley, or serve, finish, or whether it was Goran Ivanovic? Has it gone too far now on the pendulum the other way? Is that what we're suggesting?
I think possibly, and that's the point. Back in the mid-90s, people got fed up with this wham, bam, big serve. Thank you very much. Wimbledon was not the spectacle it is today, and that's why they slowed down the conditions. And yeah, I think the danger is that it's gone too far the other way. But more than that, it's just the uniformity of the surfaces. The fact that whether you're in Australia or New York on a hard court, in Paris on the clay, or on the grass at Wimbledon, effectively, it doesn't matter.
But do you not like that?
Still
But do you
going
not
to
like
play
that,
the
Marcus?
same way.
Do you not like that, Mark?
No.
Because I didn't like the fact that Nadal, every single year, Nadal won the French. You knew he was going to win the French. Up rock Nadal, he won it. Now you can see potentially there's more variance, that if they're all playing on similar courts of similar speeds, you're going to get more winners of tournaments if the other guys can raise their game to get to the point where they can compete with Alcaraz and Sinner.
Yeah, well, that makes logical sense. I think that's a big if, though, because these two are head and shoulders above everybody else. But what I just want to see, Simon, I just want to see a bit more variety. I mean, I love, like anyone else does, a 35-shot rally from the back of the court. We're oohing and ahhing. They're getting back balls that seem impossible. And it is fantastic. But I think there's also a time for more serve and volleying, and for the need to be more dynamic, to attack from the word go, to get the point over and done with more quickly. And then I think you bring out the best in everybody and get that variety that all sport needs to a degree.
Okay. Roger Federer, anyway, Marcus. What does he know about the sport? Thank you so much, Marcus Buckland. Just a reminder on the subject of Sinner versus Alcaraz, check out the new talkSPORT daily podcasts. You'll find lots of great topics in there, including Rupert Bell and Barry Cowan having a good old discussion on the rivalry of Sinner and Alcaraz. Find it on talkSPORT app or whatever you get your podcast from. It's 11:30.
The assist 15, but everything else that he did on the pitch between the pressing and counter-pressing, the leadership, an incredible transformation really for a player that many has written off really in the past, and that it's a great story of resilience and perseverance, I think.
Arne Slot says the ref was right to add only 3 minutes of stoppage time in the Merseyside derby. David Moyes called the decision strange, with Jack Grealish accusing Liverpool of trying to slow the game down. Slot claims time wasting is not what Liverpool do. As we wait for an EFL decision on the Blackburn-Ipswich game abandoned at 1-0 with 10 minutes left, Ray Houghton's told talkSPORT about Fulham missing out on promotion from the second division on the last day of the 82-83 season. Fulham's game against Derby was never finished after a pitch invasion.
Malcolm McDonald went to the FA to plead our case, and it fell on deaf ears. Wow. And Fulham never really recovered from that. So you've got to be careful what you're doing as well.
And what are Team USA doing with their Ryder Cup money?
For everyone, it's a personal decision. You know, a lot of guys aren't comfortable sharing what they're going to do with their money, but we're going to donate. And, you know, this happens after the Ryder Cup. So this is something that we'll worry about after.
Team USA captain Keegan Bradley's donating his fee to charity as the Americans are paid for the first time. There's loads more content on the talkSPORT Golf YouTube channel.
time on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Get ready for the golden era of sports betting. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+gambleaware.org.
It's that time. Just gone 11:30. We're joined by Matt Gibson from BetMGM. We're going to look at some of the action and the odds round and about them. Matt, good morning to you, mate. League Cup action tonight, the Carabao Cup. Lincoln Chelsea, that is live on talkSPORT. Live on talkSPORT too, meantime, Liverpool Southampton. Carabao Cup third round. What are you thinking, Mr. Gibson?
Well, good morning, gentlemen. Yeah, Jim, as you rightly said, couple of big games live on air this evening. Liverpool, unsurprisingly, 1-8 favourite, 16-1 if you fancy the big upset, and then over in Lincoln, you've really got a magic of the cup tie. I think you file this one under Lincoln versus Chelsea. Lincoln 13-1, weirdly shorter price to beat Chelsea than Southampton are to beat Liverpool, which probably speaks volumes of how good Liverpool are. Elsewhere, I think Wolves-Everton's an interesting one. Wolves' only win of the season is in this competition as they beat West Ham last time out. Will Everton rest players? Potentially. Do Wolves need a win? Definitely. Burnley-Cardiff, I think, is another interesting one. Burnley maybe resting players ahead of the weekend. Cardiff doing okay in League One, so maybe 23-5 for the upset there is a sneaky little price. And an interesting stat, Jim, all Saturday Premier League kickoffs, all 7 of them, both teams scored in all those games. We've got 8 League Cup games this evening. It's a big old price. I like giving some value to the listeners out here. So both teams to score in every Carabao Cup game tonight is 200-1. So maybe worth a couple of quid for a little bit of action this evening.
Okay. You okay there, incidentally? The earpiece has gone in the ear, but not without an enormous
I'm like
amount
bloody
of
Henry
wrestling.
Hood. I'm like
The end.
So was I.
The Europa League is back tomorrow, Matt. Now, this is interesting, and we'll get into this further down the line in the show today, regards ticketing, shall we say, and Forest fans. But Real Betis against Nottingham Forest. Forest are back in Europe, 30 years on. It's live on talkSPORT too. What are you thinking about that? Yeah.
It's an amazing story, the Forest one, isn't it? And Sean Martin, as ever, on point with the stats. He tells me that Forest obviously play Betis tonight under Ange Postecoglou, and I believe Celtic's first game in Europe under Ange Postecoglou was against Betis. So it's weird how these things tend to repeat themselves. But just looking at the outrights here, fellas, I can't pick who's going to get far in this competition. Villa are top of the market at 6-1. We know how they've struggled domestically. You've got Roma in there at 9s, Forest in there at 10s, Real Betis went all the way in the Conference League last year. They're in there at 10s. Lyon ran Man United so close at 16s. It's just kind of put the odds up and chuck a dart in there, or do you fancy the British teams to do all right?
I'm not sure. I think because Forest are back and everything else that goes with that, Simon, I think they'll take care of Real Betis. And
I've laughed my backside off if Forest got dumped out of the Europa League.
Why?
Why is that?
Oh,
because they stand on the shoulders of giants. That's why.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've got in at Palace's expense, and we know all that. But I've got a feeling, Matt, that Forest will go deep in this. What do you say, Mr. Jordan?
I think that that they've been brought. I mean, Postecoglou in part has been brought on because I think Marinakis sees an opportunity to win this competition, and of course that will then fast track them into the Champions League. And I think there's a distinct possibility they could do precisely that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that they'll have some ups and downs in the competition, but I think they'll find their way through the qualifying group, and then we'll see what they get into, or the qualifying table, and see what they get into when they get into the knockout stages.
Yeah, would you be miffed at that as a former Palace owner?
Not really. Of course,
No.
I'm tongue in cheek. I have a little bit of a dig about it because I don't think it's sporting merit that's got them in, and that's what sport should be, shouldn't it? Really, sporting merit. But you can't argue with the ambition of Marinakis. Postecoglou, knows he's got to win something probably from the get-go. Otherwise, he won't get his second season as he's gotten previously. And Forest are a great side that I grew up absolutely loving when I was a kid. I can't spend enough time talking to Martin O'Neill about that team that he played in the late 70s. So a part of me absolutely take a trip down amnesia lane and wants Nottingham Forest to do well.
Elsewhere, are you giving us anything on Red Star against Celtic, Matt?
Well, Celtic are 25-1 to win the job lot, which is obviously shorter than Red Star. But I think both Scottish teams have got a bit of a challenge straight out the gate, haven't they?
Sure.
having a little bit. Certainly, Rangers having a little bit of trouble with protests and stuff that we saw at the weekend. But yeah, I think other than Forest, I think are strong favourites. I think all British teams face a tough opening round.
I would say so. Rangers going against Genk, Belgian opponents on Thursday night, and I think they'll do well to get anything out of that. That one's at home at Ibrox as well. Sorry, what are you looking at me?
No,
like
they
that
need
for?
to. I'm just saying for the endless barracking of Russell Martin that I seem to be aligned with supporting. You want him to get a result. I want him to get a result.
Well, you were actually talking in his favour the other day.
Yeah, I don't like pylons. I don't like it. I can't help it. I don't like people ganging up on people. I like people to try and find their way through. I'd like him to be given an opportunity. And if he really doesn't deserve it over a period of time, then fine, drop kick him out the door.
Oh, pylons, like electricity pylons.
No
pylons. Okay, I've got you.
Not piles.
It's a shame Danny Murphy's not here because he would talk more regards the Ryder Cup. The Ryder Cup and piles getting underway on Friday. What are you thinking about that, Matt?
Well, it was interesting. I watched a wee bit of coverage last night. Paul McGinley and Brandel Chambly having a chat about the USA getting paid. Keegan Bradley's done a presser all about it, and I think his line was, "We wanted to bring it into the modern day," which I'm not quite sure that what that means. But Europe's identity is all about representing your team, your family, your continent. They've chose to spend more time and money on facilities and the preparation rather than players getting a few quid in the pocket for representing their team. Just what epitomises that. One of my favourite ever players, Sergio Garcia, he missed out on selection, but to even be eligible to play, to even be considered for selection, he had to pay $2 million in fines to even have a chance of playing. He's obviously missed out, but that's, for me, that epitomises Europe having the extravagant passion and USA having the extravagant talent. I just wonder where you boys land on being paid for the Ryder Cup, which we know is all about representing your family and your continent.
Well, you're a commercial man. What do you think? Do you think it is time that they're reimbursed?
It depends what they're doing with it. I mean, ultimately, aren't the Americans giving a proportion of it away to charity anyway?
Yeah, they are.
And so why is every other sport? Why has golf got to be judged by a different set of standards? When England play in the World Cup, whether it's the men's team or the women's team, they're remunerated for doing so. It's their professional career. So there's a part of me that thinks absolutely right. I hear the argument that says that it's an honour enough to be picked to represent, and that should be the honour in of itself. And we all know the commercial benefits of being in the Ryder Cup, but it's also your career. It's your commercial path. Everyone else is making money out of it. They're making money out of you doing it. So where is the confected outrage about it? I don't think it's one thing against the other. I mean, all these golfers that have jumped from playing on the various tours into the live golf scenario, no one seems to have that much of an issue about that at times, except, of course, when they've been hypocrites and saying it's because they want to go to play in Dubai, and really it's nothing to do with that. It's because they want to get paid for it. I'm ambivalent about it. I can see both arguments.
Well, Keegan Bradley was talking about it. I mean, they have gone for it. The US players will receive $500,000 US.
Yeah.
And it comes down to, at the end of the day, they'll get about $200,000 for the players to use as they see fit. Europe's players unanimously said, no, that's not for us. So they've gone the other way, Matt. They have said, no, we are not happy.
So they can be gallant losers then.
We want to play, for the shirt, for the European shirt. And I kind of get that. You can see both sides of it, but I like the European approach. No, we don't need money to beat you lot. We'll beat you anyway.
I don't think it's about that. I think it's about the principles. I think there's a row going on in America about how commercialised they are. You've seen it in the last Ryder Cup. America is a commercial country led by a capitalist, and I don't think there's anything fundamentally wrong with that. And it's the argument as to whether people should be paid to represent. And if everybody else is making money, and if they're donating 50% of their fee, why is there no outrage about when Harry Kane or England players get paid bonuses when they play for England?
Because they give it to charity.
And so are these guys.
Right, okay. Well, no, they're keeping $200K each.
Well, they're giving a significant proportion of it to charity. And previously, they haven't always given them to charity. It's only recent times that England players have given it to charity.
You're running out of steam with your capitalist argument here. Let's hear from you, Matt. Are you giving us the latest odds? Have they changed in any way? Are Europe coming into it, or is it still the Americans?
Despite you flying the flag, Jim, we are still outsiders, mate. The draw's still a massive price, and listen, USA are odds on. The players will be sleeping a wee bit closer to the ceiling, but I think the Europe team spirit, The lads getting on a roll, particularly if we start well Friday morning. I'm with you, Jim. I think we can go there and do the business. 3 out of the last 4, we've been battered away from home. I think this is the one where it turns around.
Come on, Matt Gibson. I'm with you, my friend. That was a look at the latest odds thanks to BetMGM. Visit betmgm.co.uk, download the app. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Well, nobody can ever accuse us of not having the fans being represented on this show. We heard from David earlier on, who spoke extremely well, David Edgar of the Heart and Hand podcast, the host of that up in Glasgow, talking about Rangers and the pressure that Russell Martin's under and fan media, etc., etc. And yesterday, off the back of an extremely well-attended West Ham United fans protest at the weekend, we heard from West Ham TV's Dan Lawless, not happy that the ownership at West Ham is still in place.
When it comes to the protest, I think it's just become the breaking point. Fans have had enough of David Sullivan and want a change. He cannot be running the football club anymore, right? And the club is in decline. It's dying, as far as I'm concerned. We've had thousands and thousands of fans walk away from the stadium, don't want to go anymore, falling out of love with the club, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse unless something changes. And David Sullivan is not fit to run the club. Now, the way I look at it, there's two outcomes, right? Best case scenario, he sells up. That's what we want. We all want him to sell up and we want new ownership. However, and I know Simon will come in and say, well, it's unrealistic or whatever. If he is staying, at the very least, someone else has to run the football club and you're just the money. There needs to be a CEO, someone like that comes in and understands football to run the club. He is ill-equipped to run this football club.
Well, as I understand it, David Sullivan having time out at the moment on a holiday, and who's to say that his fiancée isn't with him, Ampika Pixton. But she decided to take matters into her own hands and posted on Twitter. He works his tail off, if you like, and he does give up about the club. Spent a fortune on players and managers. There's no exact science to guarantee results. When David Sullivan and David Gold left Birmingham, the fans were thrilled. Within 18 months, the new Chinese owners came in and ruined the club. Be careful of what you wish for. He gives up until you've walked away in someone else's shoes. No one can have a true comprehension of all sides and the dynamics of this. He is just as devastated as you. Believe me, said David Sullivan's fiancée, Ampika Pixton, on Twitter.
What first attracted you to the multi-millionaire David Sullivan?
Yes, indeed.
The reason why he works his backside off is because he's 2 foot tall. He's probably quite near the ground. Look, the fact of the matter is she's ill-advised.
Totally.
She's ill-advised to make these sort of observations. He's a big boy. He can, well, not literally, but he's a big presence in terms of ownership.
Okay, we get the height.
He is perfectly capable of representing himself. It's difficult. I understand it's difficult for people that are emotionally invested in people that you hear these sort of things. But there is a common denominator. And I remember writing an article, which I was showing to Luke the other day in The Guardian. I showed it this morning. He doesn't want me to read it out because it's got some very choice language in there about Sullivan's £575 million porn empire that he built. And if you don't like those sort of things, go to some of the wonderful websites he's involved with. But the point is that in 2006... the same attitude was coming from the Birmingham fans. And I have said the same thing as this lady has said about be careful how you judge people by the standards. And the guy was talking about a Birmingham caller yesterday saying that Sullivan, you're comparing him to some Chinese owner. I'm comparing to the fact that you've got some new guys in there that relegated you to League One. So pack it in about what happened when Carson Young came in and using that as an example not to discredit David Sullivan's ownership. The fact of the matter is that you've not had a good time for 20 years. So my point is Sullivan had a real issue with the fans and the fans had an issue with him at Birmingham. It's now transported him and the late David Gold had a real issue with West Ham fans. At the centre of it is a stadium. And at the centre of it is they feel that they've been bait and switched. But I don't really... And I've got real reasons to have issues with David Sullivan.
Oh, you say that, but he's probably got real reasons to have issues with you.
Some of the crap that Sullivan pulled upon me in boardrooms.
Like what?
He said, no, I'm not going to do it on air because I've written about it in a book. They can read it there if they want to. But some of the stuff that he tried to do with me and some of the observations he made about me in front of other people were just snide.
It must have been funny, though.
And things that he tried to do when he took managers and stuff like that. Anyway, whatever.
Okay.
But the point is that
you bear a grudge.
No, I bear a reason for having an outlook towards Sullivan. It's not a particular grudge because he's not someone I'm particularly interested in. The fact is that...
It's just that you bring it up all the time.
No, when it comes to the subject matter, I don't volunteer the subject matter of David Sullivan.
Right.
If we're talking about David Sullivan, I'll give you an opinion on him. If I was giving an opinion about John Henry whilst talking about David Sullivan, you'd say it's a bit odd, wouldn't you?
Right.
The fact is that Sullivan, for me, I think a lot of what's said about him is unfair. I think that he does a reasonable job in his football clubs. Just because I don't particularly admire him personally, I can be objective to go, well, what are you screaming for?
Yeah.
Terry Brown was your chairman. You screamed at him when West Ham fans, you screamed at Magnuson and nearly ruined your football club. So what is it besides the move? And I know that's for them, that's biblical. You can't change that as far as they're concerned. It's the ultimate transgression. But why dislike them so much? What is it? I mean, they are spending money. They are trying to make decisions to the betterment of the football club.
The stadium's
that
top
is it,
of the
isn't
list.
it?
Well, I don't think it's just that, though, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, he said things that I know that he said in the past, which is ultimately, like I made the point yesterday with the fellow that was podcast we were talking about. When he sold Dimitri Payet and he brought in the boy from Norwich, Robert Snodden, there was the ambition levels weren't there. Snodgrass, sorry, and they've talked about being a top six side. But for the extremes of the reaction, I think it's a bit extreme, and I also think it's very unwise for people. I thought it was unwise when Harry Maguire's mother came out. These are grown men.
Well, I was going to ask you that. I mean, clearly a loved one of Mr. Sullivan who feels obliged to go in and bat for her fiancé and say her bit on his behalf. Did that ever happen to you when you were up against it at Palace? Was there any family member even around who felt the desire to defend you?
They were leading the chorus.
Get them out! Get them out! I mean, honestly, did you have to say? I mean, I think you mentioned your mum to me in the past. No, did none of them say, "Oh, this is awful"? I got
some abuse.
I mean, everybody else was killing themselves.
I got some abuse with some fans in front of my mother, which I wasn't particularly pleased about. So
Mum stepped in.
No, she didn't.
Right.
I stood in their seats the following week and asked them to say it to my face. The fact is that you've got to take control of your own business and you've got to be able to deal with it. And I don't think it helps. All it does is open this lady up for the same people giving her abuse.
Well, this is it. We end up talking about it, don't we?
And her points are not invalid. We're all joking to one side. David is not uncommitted to West Ham. David will care about the results. But that doesn't matter. We're in an outcome world where people have decided, like Russell Martin is now decided, like that David Edgar was saying, he'll go win 5 games in a row, lose a 6th, and people will go, there, see what I mean?
Yeah.
And Sullivan is now done, toast for West Ham. It's whether he wants to stay in the kitchen.
Sullivan's done at West Ham.
Well, they're never going to have him, are they? He's not done in terms until he sells it.
But you think there's no way he can turn around this? On the face, I beg your pardon. Well, I speak to David, and he's polite enough to take my calls.
Yeah.
I don't make fun of his height or anything else that goes with that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, do you feel that it's now virtually impossible that he could ever get the bulk of the West Ham?
Why are you asking me a question you know the answer to? You know that they don't want him. You know that it's very, very unlikely that he's going to be able to change that perspective unless he changes the complete dimension of how he operates, which is throws loads of cash at it, which they haven't got to do because they can't do it with PSR anyway. How's he going to change it? What's he going to do? Knock the stadium down?
And just a final one from you on this. Did you ever, in all seriousness, have to say to your members of your family, around the time at Palace, when it did go somewhat pear-shaped, not leave this to me, don't get involved, I don't want you getting involved?
But I'd established that very early doors. I'd established that with my family. The only thing I wanted my father not to do was tell all the fans when he should travel on the buses with them what I told him.
Yeah.
That was the other side of the equation. Dad, don't tell him what I've said about the manager, please.
That's a great message. Sorry, I was listening to you. Don't think for a moment I wasn't.
What?
The way you were talking about David Sullivan, Ben's got one for you. Why does Simon have some kind of hatred towards short people? He always talks about their backsides being too close to the
Dutch
ground
disease, Dutch
and all
disease,
that.
No, nothing to do with it. I just think it's there to be said.
Oh, well, fair enough. Okay. We never mind short people or anybody else.
Was he short, that person?
We're at 12 noon and we're live in talkSPORT. Standing tall.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Score a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
I'm Ben Fletcher. Good afternoon. We're reliably informed Arsenal will be without Noni Madueke for around 2 months. The Gunners winger has a knee injury, but it's not believed to involve any ACL damage. Newcastle's Johan Wissa doesn't need surgery on his knee. He should be fit after the international break. Eddie Howe's admitted they're playing catch-up after losing Alexander Isak.
You're forming your partnerships and team relationships as you start the season. Really, they're formed. I think we're in that position now where we're going to have to do it as we play, but I've got no issue with doing that. I've done it before.
Newcastle are home to Bradford tomorrow in the Carabao Cup. Tonight, Lincoln host Chelsea on talkSPORT from 7. You can hear Liverpool-Southampton over on talkSPORT 2. This as Arne Slot insists the ref was right to add only 3 minutes of stoppage time to the end of the Merseyside derby. Jack Grealish accused Liverpool of trying to slow the game down, but Slot claims time wasting is not what his side do. talkSPORT understands Villa's transfer deal-maker Monchi is set to leave his job as president of football operations. It's a blow to Unai Emery on top of Villa's difficult start to the season. And we've heard this morning Harry Kane and Virgil van Dijk should have been much higher up in the Ballon d'Or rankings. Ousmane Dembele burst into tears as he picked up 2025's award. Simon Jordan says the award has morphed into something different since the days of Messi and Ronaldo.
Because of broadcasting, because of what's happened in sport and entertainment around sport, and the fact that sport is such all-consuming now, it's not surprising that an award like this has become show business. It's become the Oscars of
Absolutely. Football. More reaction to last night's ceremony at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The Health Secretary's urging the public not to pay any attention to what Donald Trump says about medicine, and Britain's largest car makers extended the shutdown of its factories following a cyber attack.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Come rain or shine, we've got your car's inbuilt safety tech covered with expertly trained technicians across the country, so you can drive away happy every time.
Fine for most of us with sunny spells and patchy cloud in eastern England. Windy there with scattered showers moving in throughout the afternoon.
Mid-mornings and into the afternoon as well. 4 minutes past 12 noon. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan live in talkSPORT on this Tuesday, September the 23rd. We're coming to you live on your TV as well. We are everywhere, folks, these days. Samsung, Fire TV, Android, Google TV, Prime Video. Wherever you want to watch a show, you can. And so many people are doing that. And you message me to tell me, and I'm delighted that you do. We're getting used to the idea now, Simon, that one of boxing's real favourite sons, Ricky Hatton, is no longer with us. Ricky, of course, it was announced had died just in recent days at the age of 46. All sorts of conversations following the announcement of Ricky's death, not least what happens now. A petition has been launched to honour the life of former world champion Hatton with a statue. And thereafter, the question of mental health comes in regards former fighters. I'm delighted to say we're joined this lunchtime by the General Secretary of the British Boxing Board of Control, Robert Smith. Robert, thanks as always for joining us when we contact you on any matter boxing. I'm delighted to say that more often than not, you join us, and I'm happy that you do. It's the first time I've had the opportunity to speak to you. How shocked, how saddened were you about the news of Ricky's passing?
Well, of course, terribly sad. It was a disaster. He's a lovely bloke, great fighter, but more importantly, he was just a lovely man. And, and it was just a complete shock. The last time I saw Ricky, he looked fantastic. He was chatting away as he normally does, everybody's friend. And I just couldn't believe it. It obviously took us a few hours to understand or to realise what happened. And, I can't say any more than that, Jim.
Robert, I mean, in a statement on behalf of the Hatton family last week, they noted that despite his well-documented struggles, Richard was in a good place and was excited for the future. But again, Ricky's death has also raised questions of whether or not the industry can do more for boxers post-fighting. You said that you would be supportive of a fighters' union and that it was, quotes, frustrating that boxers hadn't previously funded one. Where are we going with this, Robert? Because more attention needs to be paid to this very area of discussion.
Well, I mean, one thing, Jim, I don't think it's just boxing, is it? I mean, all sports people who've hit a high, and when they come down, when their career finishes, have difficulty. Many have difficulties. So certainly the people who have achieved a great deal. So I don't think it's just boxing's problem, but it is a problem for us. And we're very happy to speak to people who want to set up maybe a union or something like that. But it has, as I said to Simon before, it has been tried on numerous occasions, and the biggest thing is it has to be funded. And although the board will be very happy to assist with people who are interested in sorting something out, but we obviously have to be independent from that union, because obviously national governing bodies and unions are completely different organisations and there would be a conflict of interest for us to be dealing with it for the running of it. But as I say, it's been tried before. When I was boxing in the 80s, it was tried. In the 90s, it was tried with Barry McGuigan, Nicky Piper, Mickey Cantwell and Colin McMillan. It didn't succeed. And I have to say that I've looked through old old boxing newses when looking at other issues. And in the 40s and 50s, they were trying to set up a union. But as I say, it has to be funded. It has to be funded by the boxers themselves.
So the boxers have got to take the lead here, is what Robert's saying, Simon. I mean, as Robert said there, Barry McGuigan founded such a union in 93, the PBA, I should say. Yeah. But that ended. Why? Well, guess why? Lack of funding.
But the interesting thing, Robert, and you and I have kicked this around before, is the appetite within the industry only ever comes up when there's some adversity, something tragic has happened, and people start to look at the industry and say, should they be doing more? But it's interesting about funding the union, Robert, because football doesn't fund the union. The broadcasters do. So why isn't there an appetite or an opportunity to steer into that particular narrative? I mean, you charge sanctioning fees, the various bodies charge sanctioning fees. Why isn't there an enforced levy on fighters? I know you're going to say that at the very end, top end, when Anthony Joshua's fighting and getting 50 million quid, he can afford it. But when someone's fighting at York Hall for 500 quid, they can't afford it. But if it's scalable at 1% or something, why couldn't you enforce a discipline that requires a levy to be put onto fighters' purses, and the broadcasters come to the party as well, and it doesn't come under your jurisdiction because it would be a conflict, but goes into a union? Why can't that be achieved, Robert?
Well, it's been looked at before. We are, as you know, Son, we are run completely different from any other organisation. We don't get TV money. Our fees come in from promoters, etc., and licence fees, etc. It is something that obviously has been discussed before, and it's something that should maybe look forward in the future and speaking to the TV people, TV broadcasters. But it's not there at the present time. But something. But
you licence these promoters, though, don't you? Who are the ones that are tied to the broadcast deals?
Yes, but we're talking of very few promoters have tried to broadcast deals, etc. And we have something like 80 promoters in this country, of which we have about 4 or 5 with broadcast deals. So it's a matter of getting everybody together and trying to work something out. But it's just a matter of actually getting them together to talk about it. I'm very keen to be the linchpin with regard to that, but it'll take a long time. It'll take a bit of difficulty with the negotiations. And don't forget ultimately, I mean, I know we talk about the big boxers who earn a huge amount of money, but the 95% of the people in the sport don't earn any money. You know that. A lot of the time with boxers, it's pin money, holiday money, Christmas money. So there isn't the funds there for the whole sport. But it's certainly something that needs to be looked at, certainly something I'm very keen to be part of. But it just takes a bit of time, Simon. I think you are aware from the conversations we've had how things are dealt with.
I mean, Paul Smith, who you'll know well, he launched the Global Fighters Association. That aims to represent participants in combat sports worldwide, not only boxing. It just needs more of a push, Robert, doesn't it? You're under the cosh. We know you are. I mean, you've got to oversee so much. But I don't know. I mean, could the British Boxing Board of Control subcontract it in another area so that this is a field that is indeed looked after?
Certainly something to look at, Jim. I mean, the one thing you mustn't forget is the board do look at these things all the time. We try to set up a pension scheme, but the trouble with the pension scheme is boxers aren't boxing regular. and therefore is not a regular income for the pensions. And we're still talking to people about pension schemes. We obviously have our own small charity which looks after boxers who've fallen upon hard time, or licence holders who's fallen on hard time and also on hard times. And also we look at the medical aspects that the charity deals with. So we are dealing with a lot of things. But there's always something else we can look at, and conversations with people. But you're not just going to click your fingers. I mean, I'd love to sit down with Paul and see what he's trying to do. I haven't had a conversation with him. I've heard about it, but we haven't had a conversation. I'm very happy to sit down and talk to him and see what he's trying to achieve and any way we can help and where we can, if we can assist with.
But that can't be, Robert, with respect, that can't be that can't be difficult for you to do if you have. It feels to me. I mean, you guys get a levy, don't you? The board from TV revenue that the promoters get, don't you? So there is revenue coming into you from the sport itself. It can't be that difficult. I mean, Paul's been talking about this union for a year. I mean, there's also been quite critical of you guys because he's concerned about the level of fines that you're putting on certain fighters and the lack of transparency around it. But it feels to me, without wanting to put you in a cleft position, that there's not much of an appetite for this. And it might be because you as an organisation aren't that well funded.
Well, we're not that well funded compared to other sports. But when you talk about transparency and you talk about fines, etc., it's quite clear in the regulations. It's quite clear that I've said in statements, etc., all the fines go into the board's charity, and they look after ex-boxers and ex-licence holders who have fallen in hard times. That's a fact, and I can keep saying it till I'm blue in the face, but that is a fact. And so if we talk about the amount of fines, if you look at over the course of the year, the fines aren't that much. It's only every now and again when you hear about a big one, but generally fines are 50 quid, 100 quid for misdemeanours for boxers, but it's not very often. So, you know, I fully understand that people are talking about a recent fine we've had, which is quite heavy, but that's not in the scheme of things that's going to keep the charity going, and also help other people. But as I said, Simon, we do get levies, absolutely, and there are people we can hopefully talk to, and I'm very happy to talk to Paul. He's been talking about it for a year, but
Can I, on the subject of fines, what's going on with you and Chris Eubank? I mean, there seems to be a lot of noise from Eubank saying various things about what went on in that particular fight. You guys allowed, in the first fight, Ben to fight with horse feather gloves that apparently his contract doesn't allow for. You allowed people from the media to go into, or certain sections of fighters like Billy Joe Saunders to try and go into his dressing room. He's called you some choice names. He's talked about the care that he was put under trying to get out of Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. What's happening there, Robert?
Well, first of all, as I'm sure you're aware, there are legal issues going on at the present time, and I can't really talk about it. With regard to situations with, say, on the aspect of horsehair, 90% of the gloves that's used in boxing has horsehair in there. It's nothing to do.
But you must have. I mean, you can't have a fighter call the General Secretary of the British Boxing Board of Control a scumbag, can you?
Well, I can't. As I say, legal issues are being discussed at the present time. We're taking legal advice, and unfortunately, and I'd love to be able to talk any further on it, I'm unable to do so, and I'm fairly sure you understand why.
Okay, Robert, we will have you on again, no doubt, as we build up to the next big domestic fight as and when that comes along, and they're coming thick and fast. Robert Smith has been with us, the General Secretary of the British Boxing Board of Control. Sad news in the world of cricket this lunchtime, incidentally. Yorkshire County Cricket Club have just announced it is with profound sadness that the Yorkshire County Cricket Club announces the passing of Harold Dennis Dicky Bird. MBE-OBE, one of cricket's most beloved figures, who died peacefully at home at the age of 92. The umpire, Dicky Bird.
He was a brilliant umpire, yeah.
And a character with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, sad loss.
Sad loss.
Good innings, literally and metaphorically.
Yeah.
Still a sad loss, one of the characters of the game.
Dicky Bird, who has died at the age of 92. We're at 12:15 this Tuesday lunchtime.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
And just a reminder that DAZN brings you over 185 fights a year and an undisputed schedule featuring stars like Dave Allen, Joshua Buatsi, Jaron Ennis, Nathaniel Collins and many more. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing. Simon and I are just mulling over the sad news this lunchtime. We mentioned it going into the previous break there, that Yorkshire County Cricket Club have announced that it's with profound sadness. The club announces the passing of Harold Dennis Dicky Bird, MBE, OBE, one of cricket's most beloved figures, who has died peacefully at home at the age of 92. And he was a character. Dicky Bird, was he not? A great character, one of the leading umpires in the game. The chair of Yorkshire County Cricket Club is Colin Graves. Colin joins us live. Colin, this is sad news this lunchtime, is it not? Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. It's very sad news indeed, because Dicky, as you said, was a legend in his own right, not only in Yorkshire but around the world. He was well known and well respected.
What made him different, do you think, to others in the sport of cricket, Colin?
I think the one thing about Dicky was very down to earth, feet on the ground. He treated everybody the self and same. That's why the players all respected him when he was umpiring. He didn't mess around. He didn't suffer any idiots, basically. And what he saw is what he told them, and he made sure that they played the sport properly.
I mean, when you look back at it, it's incredible. He umpired 66 test matches, at that time a world record, and 69 one-day internationals, including 3 World Cup finals. He was the man for the big occasion, Colin.
Yeah, he loved the big occasion, and he rose to those big occasions, and he loved being part of it. He was part of everything that happened in world cricket, and that's why he was well respected around the world. Yeah.
What does he mean to Yorkshire and to the likes of yourself?
It's a sad day, to be honest. When I heard this morning, I must admit, a bit of a jerk and a tear came in my eye, because I've known Dicky now, crikey, for 40-odd years, and he was a brilliant guy. He was always here at Headingley at Yorkshire matches, never missed a day, and he just loved being part of the Yorkshire setup and everything, that we do here. So he'll be greatly missed at Headingley.
Colin, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Colin Graves, the chair of Yorkshire County Cricket Club.
But it's such a thing that he was synonymous with cricket. I grew up listening to, watching cricket on when Test matches were on, watching Peter West and Richie Benaud, and Dicky Bird was always part of that. And so when you've got an umpire that has become so synonymous with the game, it must tell you something about him. He wrote a book that sold over 1 million copies. If you know anything about publishing, and you know anything about selling books and what it takes to become a best-selling author, to sell 1 million books is some achievement. So that must have an indication of how valued he was.
Yeah.
And he was a personality. You saw him interact with the players. You saw his characteristics. You saw his character full stop. And he's one of those characters that in sport, that they're very rare. And I think most people, whenever I listened to people speaking of him, it was always with the greatest of respect, humour attached to it. And he was a bloody good umpire.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from God's own country.
And especially someone who's an arbiter of the game. He was in a position of authority, Simon, but he was a heck of a popular individual.
Yeah, different sports. And obviously they're given more latitude to have slightly more quirks and more personality traits and so on and so forth. And it became part of the setup, that the manner in which he, indicated wides or the way that he interacted with, whether it's fast bowlers or spin bowlers. He was just a character. And for people to be, he's so recognisable. The name Harold Dicky Bird is so recognisable that it must tell you something about him.
Exactly that. He was appointed MBE in 1986 and then OBE in the 2012 New Year Honours List for services to cricket and charity. But what about this? He also received honorary doctorates from Huddersfield, Leeds and Sheffield Hallam universities. And he was awarded the Freedom of Barnsley in 2000. He was awarded the honorary life membership of the Marylebone Cricket Club in 1996. But he was a fellow, Simon, who very much like you said what he meant and meant what he said. He wasn't afraid to speak out. And of course, in the world of cricket, where tradition is so important to many, Dicky was a bit of a mover and a shaker.
But also, I don't think he was a confrontationalist. I think he was to the point. I don't think he was like someone like Geoffrey Boycott that would have an opinion and it could divide a room. I think he was relatively non-confrontational in the forthrightness of his view. But then again, as an umpire, he made direct decisions. Listen, I think he was a character, and he'll be missed and remembered in equal measure.
Yes, indeed. Yorkshire, of course, very sad about this news. They have released a statement, I should say, and I can bring that to you. Dicky Bird became a national treasure, not only known for his umpiring excellence, but also for his eccentricities and warmth. The thoughts of everyone at the Yorkshire County Cricket Club are with Dicky's family and friends during this time. He will be truly missed by all at the club, having spent an incredible amount of time in support of everyone here, and he'll be remembered as one of the greatest characters in Yorkshire's history. It's such sad news that it really is. Dicky Bird, who has passed this lunchtime, with the news breaking at this time. Dicky Bird has died at the age of 92.
Ousmane Dembele burst into tears as he picked up 2025's Ballon d'Or. Julian Lorenz told us PSG treble winner had one of the best seasons ever for a French footballer.
The goals 37, the assists 15, but everything else that he did on the pitch between the pressing and counter-pressing, the leadership, an incredible transformation really for a player that many has written off really in the past, and that it's a great story of resilience and perseverance, I think.
Arne Slot says the ref was right to add only 3 minutes of stoppage time in the Merseyside derby. David Moyes called the decision strange, with Jack Grealish accusing Liverpool of trying to slow the game down. Slot claims time wasting is not what Liverpool do. As we wait for an EFL decision on the Blackburn-Ipswich game abandoned at 1-0 with 10 minutes left, Ray Houghton's told talkSPORT about Fulham missing out on promotion from the second division on the last day of the 82-83 season. Fulham's game against Derby was never finished after a pitch invasion.
Malcolm McDonald went to the FA to plead our case, and it fell on deaf ears. Wow. And Fulham never really recovered from that. So you've got to be careful what you're doing as well.
And what are Team USA doing with their Ryder Cup money?
For everyone, it's a personal decision. You know, a lot of guys aren't comfortable sharing what they're going to do with their money, but we're going to donate. And, you know, this happens after the Ryder Cup. So this is something that we'll worry about after.
Team USA captain Keegan Bradley's donating his fee to charity as the Americans are paid for the first time. There's loads more content on the talkSPORT Golf YouTube channel.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just gone 12:30 this Tuesday lunchtime, Tuesday, September the 23rd. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT. Simon's just inspecting his flights as we prepare to fly up to Glasgow soon. And of course, I'm definitely going business, am I not? I was asked just moments ago. Yes, you will do. We'll go up in style.
Didn't say that. So well, you miles.
You will. I'll be in like 32C, no doubt.
You belong.
Talking about travel, quite a number of Forest fans, no doubt, today on the move, because Nottingham Forest are preparing for their first European campaign in 30 years as they travel to play Real Betis tomorrow night. It's live on talkSPORT 2, and of course it's in the Europa League. At the expense, many would still argue, of Crystal Palace. But anyway, that's by the by. Nottingham Forest are in and they aim to go deep in this tournament. But here's the thing. It's come to light, Simon, that some of the Forest fans are attempting to purchase tickets in the home sections at the Real Betis Stadium. And the club are now threatening sanctions for those who attempt to do that. So Forest are getting serious about this, and they've issued a statement. Nottingham Forest have been contacted by both Real Betis and the Spanish police in relation to reports of our fans attempting to buy tickets in the home sections of the Estadio La Cartuja for our UEFA Europa League fixture on Wednesday, the 24th of September. The club says they've been made aware that some fans have already been successful in getting tickets in amongst the home areas. Now, the away allocation is just 3,300. The capacity of the Real Betis Stadium is 60,000. And many Forest fans are attempting to take matters into their own hands and get themselves into the stadium no matter no matter where, and no matter how. Simon, does it come to this? Is it loyalty or is it lunacy to risk sitting in the home end just to be part of the occasion? And I'll tell you why I'm asking you that. Because Marinakis and Forest are getting tough on it. They're saying we've got to be clear here. Supporters found to have purchased or used tickets for the home section here will face sanctions from the club, which may include restrictions on future ticket purchases. So in other words, Forest are saying, don't even think about it. And if you've already done it, you might be in a bit of trouble.
Well, there's obviously a reason why you don't. Well, I mean, listen, I think it's more to do with support and desire to be part of something that Nottingham Forest haven't been part of for a very long time. You know, this is rare. Nottingham Forest have been at the Premier League for up until the last couple of seasons for 23 years.
Yeah.
They're now back in Europe.
But they're taking a risk if they do this.
Yeah,
because Forest are watching them.
I know, but you asked me two questions. What's their motivations for doing it?
Right.
And is Forest's reaction and the reaction of UEFA, proportionate? Well, the motivations for doing it, I don't think I have to go and cause trouble. It's because they want to be part of something that's historic for them, which is back into Europe for a competition that they won in 79 and 1980, right? So it's been a long time since they really featured in Europe.
Yeah.
The idea that anybody wants any kinds of challenges, the Spanish police don't muck about. So, when you're over in Spain, when you're over in those circumstances, we've seen it with West Ham when they had challenges when they played away against a particular club and they had real issues there, didn't we? We saw certain challenges when various clubs have played in Spain previously about how the Spanish police will handle their supporters.
Even here, Rangers fans at Old Trafford.
Yeah. So I think, and absolutely. So I think it's entirely appropriate if you prohibit something and you say you don't want it to be done. And we've seen, in lesser terms, in terms of scale of match, but notwithstanding that importance, we've seen in Midlands derbies when Birmingham fans, or was it West Brom fans, infiltrated a particular part of the stadium, and you had all kinds of challenges. It's not advisable to have away supporters in amongst the home fans, for very obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And if you don't want the ramifications of it, if you don't want any challenges as a result of it because someone takes exception to the away side scoring a goal and the away side fans celebrating, then you have to mean what you say and say what you mean, which is if you do this and will find you there, then we will consequence you in another environment. And I think that's right.
I'm going to put it out there this lunchtime in the final half hour that we've got, about 25 minutes till we go at 1 o'clock. Be interesting to hear from any Forest fans maybe who are set to travel or who are travelling at this time. Are you taking a risk? And if so, you don't need to give your name, but you can give us a call and tell us why. Because as Simon says, emotionally, we get it. Forest in Europe for the first time in 30 years, but you're taking a major risk. It would seem you're taking a risk. Through the back door or not. It would seem you're taking something of a risk in the eyes of your own club. If you purchase a ticket that lands you in the home areas of the Real Betis Stadium, 03717 223344. Have you already bought a ticket that's going to get you in the away section where 3,300 Nottingham Forest fans will be housed? Be aware, it's a big stadium, 60,000 capacity. But it does seem, Simon, that, whether it's emotionally charged or not, many will do it because that's what fans do. Is it not? That is what fans will do.
And so they now understand the consequences of it. And if that's what fans do, and one understands there's a motivation for doing it, well, if it's ill-advised or ill thought out and has ramifications or consequences or jeopardy attached to it, if that's what they do, then they're fully now versed in the fact that neither the club that's entertaining them or the club that they support wants them to do it. And if they do it, they go into that knowing with the full knowledge that Nottingham Forest and their owner and their management team are saying, this will have a ramification for you.
Yeah.
We will either take away your tickets for games at the City Grounds or whatever else they're threatening to do.
It is sad. A club of Forest size, I don't know how these things work out or how they work them out, but they would have hoped, I would have thought, for more than 3,300 tickets.
Well, I'm assuming I'm assuming, first of all, it's not the home team's job to give the away team any more than they have to actually give them under the guidelines. I'm assuming it must be that 5% of the stadium must be given to the away support. Now, of course, from the Nottingham Forest fans' point of view, they want to have as many tickets as they possibly can. But Betis are not in the business of entertaining Nottingham Forest fans. They're in the business of winning football matches and providing an environment that's conducive to supporting their side.
Well,
Nottingham Forest will reciprocate, I'm sure, when they come to the...
I think you were spot on, actually, there, Simon. If I heard it right, that Real Betis have got to make 5% of the gate available. Of the number of tickets
if it was
available to the away side.
So think about it. If that was reciprocated, they're not going to pay. They're not going to play Real Betis at City Ground because it's not a two-legged tie, is it? But if they were going to City Ground, what's the capacity of City Ground? 30,000? Is that what it is? They'd get 1,500 tickets.
Right.
So the boot would be on the other foot.
Quite
and it will be for other sides.
Quite a number of Forest fans trying to get in touch at this stage. We will be patient. We'll have you on with us in the
Them's the rules.
Them's are the rules. Here is Rich, Rich is a Forest fan. Rich, good afternoon to you. Are you aiming to travel, or are you going to be watching from distance? Where are you with us?
Hi, Jim. Yeah, I'm travelling tonight. I'm flying tonight, and I'm actually in the away end. But in regards to home Forest fans sitting in the home end. I get why they're doing it. I've done it before a lot of years ago, but I'm not an idiot, and I stayed quiet even when we scored. But it's a risk, isn't it? You know how volatile these Spanish fans can get, just like English fans, really, when they see away fans in their end. And how do you keep quiet when you score?
And we get it. To be honest, Rich, we get it. There is an emotional attachment here. It's the first time you're in Europe for 30 years. Many Forest fans want to be there, but you're asking for trouble if you go into the Real Betis areas, are you not?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. You're taking a gamble, aren't you? It's a massive gamble. I mean, tickets are sold out in the away end, so I can see why they're doing it. Personally, I wouldn't do it abroad. I'd do it in this country at a push, but you know, you score a goal and then it's going to kick off, isn't it? It's just going to go off big time.
Yeah. Well, Rich, you are where you should be, in amongst the travelling support in the away allocated area of the stadium, and good luck with that. Thanks for the call. Phil, are you the same? A big Forest fan? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah, massive Forest fan. Follow them home and away in the UK, and looking forward to going tomorrow. But again, you know, I would say if any Forest fans are going over who haven't got a ticket in the allocated block, go to the fan zone, because you're not just representing, you know, you're representing Nottingham Forest in Europe and also the UK, and I think it'd be not wise to do that because you can lose. And I agree with what the club's doing. You know, if you are in there, you know, you could lose your home season card, and that's so difficult to get one at Nottingham Forest, and it's not worth the risk. And there's fan park there where they can enjoy the atmosphere, you know, before the game and stuff. But, you know, even if I didn't have a ticket with the away fans in the right place, and if I was going over, I'd just stay in the fan park, because it's not worth it. It's not worth bringing our club.
Yes, sensible words. Yeah, very sensible words, Phil. Enjoy the game. Thanks for that. Ian's a Manchester United fan who wants to bring his thoughts into this. And where are you coming from on this one, Ian? Good afternoon.
Jim, hi. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Simon.
Good afternoon.
I just wanted to make the point that when the Europa League final came around this year, we weren't fortunate enough to get tickets through United, so we edged our bets. And we went into the UEFA ballot also, and we did manage to get tickets. And even though you had to state which team you supported, it made no difference when you got there. It became quickly apparent to us that we were in the Spurs end. And all around the ground, other than the two end sections, the two ends that were designated specifically United and Spurs, the rest of the ground was absolutely intermingled. So it was okay for UEFA then to throw us all together. And it was a credit, really, to both clubs that, you know, there wasn't any trouble.
Yeah, good point.
But fortunately for us, we managed to find another 4 Spurs supporters who were in a similar position, and we swapped. So we ended up quite close to the United end, and they ended up in the Spurs. But, you know, all around there were pockets of Spurs and United supporters intermingled. And, you know, for UEFA to do that, you know, it just shows incompetence in my eyes.
Well, there's another side to that, which I don't disagree with the principles of what you're saying, but the home advantage in a tie is not the same as in the final, is it? So you've got two teams playing in a neutral stadium. Yes, I understand the argument that we're both making. We've both made it about the potential for flashpoints and trouble, but there's also another part of it, which is the sporting side of things, where a home team is generally getting the advantage. And so with that in mind, you get less opportunity to have as many fans in the stadium as you would want. And secondly, there is this slightly more partisanship where the home fans believe that it's their stadium and they own the right to be in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed. And, you know, I was at United Rangers game when, you know, the Rangers fans absolutely infiltrated Old Trafford.
Yeah.
How they managed that was, you know, when they scored, it was apparent that there must have been 30,000 Rangers fans at Old Trafford that night. But, you know, going back to the point in question, you know, it's all about being able to enjoy the game and the potential for flashpoints and what have you. And again, my point is that UEFA, and I don't know why this wasn't made more of at the time, but the way UEFA absolutely intermingled both sets of supporters, it was negligence in my view. But
good call, though, Ian.
As a United fan, I always go out there and to do the business.
Oh, good man, Ian. Listen, on the Bilbao game, I bet you'd wish you'd stayed at home, no?
It was planes, trains and automobiles. It took us 23 hours to get out there. And we didn't say anything not a word was spoken for at least an hour and a half after the game. So,
Ian, well done. Thank you very much. Ian, good call. Thank you for that.
Argument's got to be allocation levels, isn't it?
Well, that's it, Sam. You're right.
But then again, irrespective of that, Jim, if you had 10% and 10% of the stadium could go to Nottingham Forest, you would still have more fans wanting to go, and there'd still be this issue.
True.
So it's about, I think that 5% is probably the low end of the spectrum. If you've got to look at the Premier League clubs, they have to give 10%, don't they?
Yeah.
To the away support.
So just a word of warning to the Forest fans who are travelling. Remember, 3,300 of you in the away area allocated to you. Any other area of the game, of the stadium, the Real Betis Stadium tomorrow night, then you're advised not to go in amongst those other areas. But I've got a funny feeling, haven't you? 30 years away from it, the first European campaign in 30 years, and I can't see that happening. But we shall no doubt return to that tomorrow on match day itself. Forest up against Real Betis, of course, in the Europa League, and it's live tomorrow night on talkSPORT 2. We're coming up to 1 o'clock.
Real Deal on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. For the latest special offers, pick up this month's Real Deals in branch or view online at selcobw.com.
Before we go today, we're going to pick out who's been the real deal this week as judged by Selco Builders Warehouse, as judged by Simon Jordan and me. And I would say we're going to throw into the ring here the name. It's a controversial name, but it's one who's regularly come in for a bit of conversation on this show. La Liga president Javier Tebas, who's not on your Christmas card list at the end of any year, Simon, is he? The same Senor Tebas has called the Premier League, quotes, a destructive force in football's broader economy and urged greater controls on English club spending. Now, but hang on, has he got a case here? La Liga in the window, the transfer window, La Liga recorded a net profit in the window of 61 million euros. Yeah. The Premier League's overall net spend in the window was a deficit of 1.36 billion pounds.
On transfers.
And Tebas has weighed in. English football needs more control. They continue to be financially bigger than the Bundesliga and the Spanish League, yes. But what is not acceptable is for this dynamic of constant losses, year by year. It's a league that's always recording deficits. The Premier League is once again going to be reporting losses, substantial losses, which have an inflationary impact on the other leagues, the other clubs in Europe. It's not an investment, it's destruction. Strong words from him, is it? Yeah. He's not wrong, is he?
Well, there's an element of hypocrisy about this fellow because he wanted the job to run the Premier League and didn't get it. He's very happy to take his teams out of Spain and get them to play in America, but whilst compromising the sporting integrity of one of the bases of sport, which is the home and away fixture, against the ideals of most of the fans in Spain. Doesn't have a problem doing that in the pursuit of economic returns. He presides over clubs that once upon a time, like Madrid, that had to sell their piece of wasteland dumping ground to be able to qualify for the Champions League and some concocted value of the land to be able to meet the requirements of UEFA. And has presided over two teams that have the biggest transfers and the most profligacy in the history of football, with £200 million transfers going between Barcelona and Madrid and God knows whatever else. What this is seeded in and steeped in, and I don't disagree with the principle of trying to get some,
there you go.
Control.
You don't disagree
football,
with it.
right? But the only thing this is seeded in is they cannot keep pace with the globalisation and the inward investment and the economics that the Premier League has destroyed them over. La Liga in the dust economically compared to the Premier League. It wasn't so long ago that the distribution models in Spanish football and Italian football was weighted towards the big clubs and no one got collective distribution. So all the TV money that was gotten was given to Real Madrid, given to Barcelona, was given to AC Milan, Inter Milan and Juventus.
Yeah, but that was then. But now they've implemented financial controls that have come into being and they've got a tight grip of their own game.
And that's their prerogative.
He's having a swipe at you lot here. He said, well, I tell you where it's got you lot in England.
Yeah.
A regulator. He says...
no, that's something else.
This is just not Javier Tebas saying this. He says, look at your own UK Parliament. Why has the UK government established an independent regulator to control the finances of English clubs?
Oh, shut up, you clown. Go look at the Germans and the French.
It's true, but it's true.
We've got an arm's length statutory regulator. In their countries, they've got seeded regulators in Germany and in France. Look what the French regulator just did to Lyon. Pack it in. I mean, every country's got regulators. We've got a different dynamic. The main reason why this fellow talks down the Premier League all the time is because they cannot, after wanting the job there, by the way, cannot keep pace.
No, but in terms of sustainability, they've done it. We haven't.
So what's sustainable? What's unsustainable about the Premier League then? Which one of the football clubs inside the Premier League?
You constantly shout for salary caps.
I do, because I want to be able...
Tebas has done that.
I want to...
So you can tip your hat
I'm not disagreeing
Tebas for that.
He's not talking about it from that position. He's talking about it from the idea, really, that he disagrees with the principles. So he disagrees with
he's saying their lot is sustainable, our lot aren't.
Our governance in this country enforces sustainability.
So why do we need a regulator?
That's for different reasons. That's for fit and proper person. That's for distribution for down the pyramid. It's not for the Premier League. It ain't for the Premier League, is it? Let's have it right. It's about distribution mechanisms.
But would you not concede that they've got a grip of their game? Salary caps, he's brought them in. You've been screaming for them.
Have you seen what some of these players are getting? I mean, Mbappe is playing. Look at the team at Real Madrid. Look at their top end. Right? We've got sustainability insofar as sustainability is a real tangible thing. What is sustainability, Jim? Do you think sustainability is sovereign wealth funds owning football clubs? I think it might be. I don't think there's any time soon that Newcastle's owners are going to go bust to you.
Do you think their aim matches the aim here in England? Our aim, says Tebas, like that of the Bundesliga and some other leagues, is for clubs to be sustainable over time and not be loss-making or just be bolstered by capital contributions, which brings inflationary impact with it. He's right.
But that's not how football has evolved, and that's not how the Premier League has left them all.
You just can't admit
the Premier League has left every other league. Why has the Premier League... In the 1990s, what was a dominant league? Serie A. They will tell you that it's the evolvement of the broadcast deals and the telco companies that in Italy, because I talked to Agnelli about it, the broadcast deals and the telco companies were so far behind that it left an opportunity for technological advances in the Premier League. Fantastic if that's your argument. The Spanish league, at once upon a time, was a predominant league. Why? Because we've done it better. We've opened it for business. Whether you like it or you don't, the Premier League product dwarfs you, and the sustainability of
dwarfs. What model is more future-proof?
What would you like me to use then? What makes you look small?
What model is more future-proof? Spain's or this one here?
The Premier League. How can it not be? It is dominating world football. It is not even scratched the surface. It will do its own broadcasting.
Yeah.
The Spanish and the Bundesliga and the Italians are light years behind. They ain't never catching up, and the only way they're going to get anywhere near us is by pulling the top down, because they damn sure can't pull their bottoms up. So they'll go off with their little highbrow attitudes, and they'll park their buses in America, and they'll play their games and their Spanish football games in America. What for? To increase their commercial revenue streams. Tebas's position is about undermining the Premier League. He makes the most ridiculous observations about the transfer market.
Yeah.
Have you looked at the transfers in Spain? Have you looked at the money that these clubs have spent at certain times? At least we've got a league where there are more teams competitive, there are more teams that are valuable, there is more inward investment.
And you've got a transfer window spend that outspends the rest of the European the European associations combined.
Okay, where does the money go? Because I'm telling you now, 60% of that money went round in a circle between Premier League clubs. So it didn't go out somewhere. I'm quite happy that they're not buying any of the Spanish.
It goes into players' pockets.
No, the transfer monies, not the wages.
Yeah.
The transfer revenues between the clubs, most of it was spent between English clubs now. Newcastle were buying players, Liverpool buying players from Newcastle for XYZ amount of money.
Yeah.
So I'm quite pleased that we're not funding other countries, because all we've spent our time doing over the last couple of years is buying players from Spain, buying players from Italy, and propping up their inability to develop their own broadcast revenues.
So are you telling Senior Tebas, or as you call him, Tapas, to do one?
I think he's a hypocrite. That's all.
Really?
I think he's got a point, and well done. Run your own league.
You think he's got a point after all that?
He has a point insofar as they can't compete. That's the real point he has. Okay. We can't compete with the English Premier League. We don't like what it's doing. We don't like it. We only like inflation when we're causing it. When we're the victims of it, we don't like it so much.
Okay. Simon, thank you. That was our pick for this week's Real Deal with Selco Builders Warehouse. For the latest special offers, pick up this month's Real Deals in branch or view online at selcobw.com. We're coming up to 1 o'clock this Tuesday lunchtime.
The Real Deal on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's Real Deals at selcobw.com.